Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in today's live stream, we're going to be continuing much of our work that we've been doing on the Level Up Refactor to the new version of SvelteKit. And I didn't get a ton of time to work on this yesterday after we went off the stream, but I did get enough time to work on it where I could see and learn quite a bit about the issues of the past and the things that I've now been able to take control of in this refactor. So today's refactor is going to be a lot more focused in terms of I'm much faster at this stuff, so I'll be able to cruise on it quite a bit more. I am going to be attempting to monitor both the Twitch and the YouTube chat today, so if you see me kind of like looking around, looking down, I have them down here. I have the chats and stuff down here. So I will be doing my very best to keep up with all of that. And if you have any questions for me about Svelte or SvelteKit at all, then just let me know and I will do my best to answer. Sorry, let me just get some of these windows in a row. I'm doing some window management down here, and I will be getting started. Sorry, hang tight, hang tight, hang tight. I'm on this new beta OBS version, which is actually kind of fantastic. But at the same time, I don't know all of its capabilities and what it can do. And so I just I'm doing stuff and then OBS is just snapping into place. Okay. Sorry, y'all. All right, let's get this going here. Today, I am going to be crushing it on this refactor here. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was a resource route that I had done. So this resource route is basically an RSS feed for Level Up Tutorials. I made the RSS feed because, hey man, RSS feeds are pretty sweet, right? So I wanted to show you what this RSS feed looked like with the new version of SvelteKit. I thought that would be really neat. So you can see that we have a folder over here called feed.xml, and the folder is essentially the name of the file you're returning, and then inside of that folder you have a plus server.ts file. Now I will say that I do find that to be a little weird. I find it to be just a little weird. So if you're thinking that this feed.xml kind of thing is odd, yeah, I'm kind of with you there. There's not too many things that I felt kind of off about with this refactor, but it just feels weird. Either way, it's pretty simple. This file is basically just creating an RSS feed, and some of the changes we had to make were to this get function now becomes all capital letters get. We're having to export const get so that way I can import the request handler type and assign this function a type here, async function, and then we have this set headers function. In the past, what we did was we just returned our headers. So from the resource route, we return the headers, but now we have to import. We have to use the headers from the function. They get passed in as our arguments here, and we can use the set header function. We can then run set headers right here with an object with strings of our headers. And then instead of returning the data before or in the past, you can see what we did is we returned the headers and the body. Now we're going to be returning what's called a new response object. And response is something that is baked in to the web here. And it's super easy. We have new response, and this is just a string. Now what's interesting here is that you'll see that this is definitely being loaded as an XML file, given that we're getting some formatting and some browser kind of specific XML features. And watch what happens if I remove this set headers content type application XML. If I come back to this page and refresh, you can see that it is just a string. It's just plain text. And if we inspect this and look at our network requests, maybe hit this with a refresh, you can see where it grabs the feed.xml. If we bump this up here, you can see that the response and the response headers, they show that the content type is plain text. So if you are trying to serve up anything that is not just plain text, you have to do set headers and give it a content type, which you kind of had to do before. It's just a little bit different now. You can see after changing that, we are now once again getting a actual XML file with a content type of application XML. So nice and easy, right? Okay, well that I just wanted to get that out of the way first, and then we can get into some other of the dev stuff as I go. What I'm going to be doing today largely is just going to be finding things to fix and then fixing them. And in turn, you're going to be getting a nice little preview of the Level Up new build here that we have. This is the new Level Up site. There's some fun things going on here, actually. You know what? It's pretty neat. We have this browse library thing. I'll have to show you how I made that at some point. That's all custom. Everything in here is custom. It should go without saying. This is all custom work. So, and sorry, it's all zoomed in too. So that's nice and big. And this is a video that plays, but this is just a placeholder for now. So don't stress too much about that. So you can see if I tab back to this, it actually plays. Pretty neat. Okay. Just to give you a preview of this new site and whatever, you'll get to see a lot throughout the course of this video because I'm going to be hitting a lot of routes where you can see we have filters for these new courses. This is definitely how it's going to be in the new version of the site because we're doing a massive redesign right now. In fact, if you've ever heard of Travis Nielsen of DevTips TV, he's the one doing the design on this. Our awesome marketing director, Caitlin Bloom, who you have seen on all of the Level Up code drops that we've been doing. We've been doing course drops. Caitlin is the one who's been drawing all of these awesome space imagery. So she is multi-talented, and she's doing a whole lot of space imagery. That's going to be the new sort of branding for the site, which we'll talk quite a bit more about as we go here. But isn't that neat? I love this stuff. This is some of my favorite things about this new redesign. Okay, so can I do a video on image optimization? Sure. Yeah, we do a lot of image optimization, whether that's via just straight up using SVG, using Cloudinary, using formats, using actual compression scripts and stuff like that. We could do that. So let's take a look. What I'm kind of doing right now is because we have so many routes. In fact, this is our routes folder, and we ran the migration yesterday. If you didn't tune in yesterday, I'll make sure you watch the stream from yesterday because we talk about the actual like running the migration scripts. And today, the migration stuff is largely just touching the files and making sure our routes work. So you can see we have all of these routes, and I've kind of started to go through all of these and just check them one by one. For instance, we have our own bookit, which is our design system. I got this all working yesterday. If you want to see some of this stuff, this is our new design system. So this is bookit, and I got that working yesterday. Interesting undefined error. What you're going to see a lot with this refactor here, especially moving from SvelteKit to this new version, is that you hit a lot of undefined as the page title. And that undefined comes from the fact that I don't have an error route. That I think I do have an error route, but I don't. Yeah, you can see it's export let titled, and title is undefined, so that's why it's going to say undefined. Okay, so in case you see undefined, that's why. In fact, maybe now that I'm saying that, maybe it's a good time to hit up that error route. So let's go ahead and actually do that now. That'd be a good opportunity, I think, to hit up the error routes. By the way, one thing I'm noticing, I'm trying to monitor both chats here. One thing I'm noticing is that the live chat widget within OBS is like not showing me all of the chat messages. So I'll do my best to monitor this stuff, but you know how it is. Okay. So what we're going to be doing first, I guess, after we took care of that and B1Mind, yes, that is the RSS feed. We have an RSS feed for many reasons, but some sites just like you to have to submit an RSS feed if you want to submit your website to be featured in various aggregators or something like that. So that's why we have an RSS feed. It's a tech that is probably way underutilized in the world. So yeah, you know what? Sorry, I keep going back and forth on this stuff. Okay, so let's take care of our error page. Let's take care of that error page. Why not, right? So how do you do error pages within this new version of SvelteKit? New version of SvelteKit has a lot of different changes here, and one of which is going to be essentially how props are being passed in, but also how you throw error. So when an error comes into the site, what happens is you throw an error, and you're going to be seeing a lot over the course of this refactor that when they ran the migration script to make sure that you are touching all of the code that you should be touching, they have thrown errors in there. That error is going to throw itself, and it is then here. Let's, for instance, go to post. This is going to throw. This throws, and you see we just have undefined here. What I'd like to do is have the error actually show up here instead of having the error show up just on the console. So the way that this works now with the error pages is that you have the page data is going to be available as a prop. I mean, not as a prop, as an import. That's the kind of thing I would edit out. This is available as an import, and it's available as a store called page. And this page store is going to get the error log, so we can, or the error itself. So we can say $app/stores, and this is going to give us essentially the store for page. And page contains a error status as well as a page status. So if we want to get what the status of the page, whether it's a 200 or 301 or a teapot, whatever, you can say $page dot, and you can see we have access to the status here. So you can tell now that we're getting a error status of 500, which is not good, right? That means that something is wrong. There's an error being thrown. And what we can say now is error dot message. Okay, and the error message is migration task. Check code was safely removed, and then it gives you a link to the GitHub issue. So now instead of having undefined when a page doesn't work, we can actually get access to the error log and status. And just a reminder that this in fact here is just plus error.svelte, and this file lives in the root of our application here, or the root of our routes structure. Okay, cool. So we now have the error page done. That's wonderful. Love the error page being done. Let's go ahead and work on the actual page that this is supposed to be fixing, which is the blog posts. Now, the blog post section of our site is pretty trivial in terms of its functionality, but you can see that we have 4 files in here that are relevant inside of the post layout, essentially, or the post listing. We have page.ts, layout.ts, page.svelte, and layout.svelte. As we've talked about so far in this refactor, the page.ts is basically where you load the data, and the page .svelte is where you have the template. You can see here that we're throwing this migration task because of all this try, catch, and return. This one's kind of a mess. We were returning a status of 200 just because I felt like, oh, we're not returning any data. Maybe we should just return a status of 200. You didn't need to do that, but I was doing that. Also, I don't really need this try, catch, so we can now simplify this function quite a bit. And same with the error message. Now, if we have an error, if data.errors, instead of passing a 404 or what type of error message this is, what we can simply do is throw the error. And the throw the error that we're going to be throwing is going to be the data.errors. So instead of throwing just a string, we're going to be throwing data.errors. And the way that this works from jQuery is that errors is an array, and it has a message inside of it, which is the error message coming straight from the network request, right? Man, GraphQL error logging is not a ton of fun sometimes, right? So check it out. One thing I would like to do as I do this is fix a lot of these TS issues. So you can see here that we're saying binding element fetch has any type. Now, one of the things that they changed in this is the ability to import, and you can import, I believe it is load, not load event. I think it's load, or I'm sorry, it's page load, and you import this from $, or sorry, you import this from the local path / $types like this. And you can see that now it's complaining that I didn't do import type. There we go. So this is now how you import the types for a specific load function. Now, one of the things I came across while doing this is that it's really easy using JS doc style syntax to just drop in the import right here and have the function be typed. But when you do export async function load and you're using TypeScript itself, there's no way to do that. That kind of confuses me. Like, why would the JS doc syntax have that ability and the normal TypeScript doesn't? So if you want to type your load function and you're writing your load functions like this, the solution there is to say export const load page load is equal to an async function like this. Okay? That's the solution. And now you can see that not only did our TypeScript error go away, but this is fully typed, and this whole function is typed to the point where we know what should be returned and what should be passed in here as arguments. Okay, so that's neat. You can see that one of these variables is not being used, which is posts. And so the way jQuery works, which is our GraphQL client, the way it works is that on the server side, we just run a get post function. This get post function populates a data named posts, which will now be available site-wide. So you can see $post is being used here, and it can't be found. This is also something that I did really poorly before the refactor here. What I did was I made the dumb decision of importing a lot of things that I was using in my template in the context module. And this was mostly just to save room and put all the imports in one spot. But I now realize that this made the migration super hard because the migration is pulling all of those imports into the server side or the load style, the server loading script, whatever they're calling it now. And because of that, I'm having to do a lot of stuff by hand. So what I have to do is delete all of this stuff. I want to grab this import and I'm going to move it into the normal script tag. I can remove the throw from there, and I can bring this in and say, all right, I can say import posts from lib.post.gq. Now, this is going to tell me that there's some TypeScript stuff. These are things that I want to fix on my own later. But at this point now, what we should see is, well, maybe not should. If I refresh this, you can see that it's still not working. That's because of the layout. But the page itself should be done with the exception of these TypeScript errors, which I'll have to take care of on my own time. So someone says using set headers compatible with returning a response object. I take it Svelte combines whatever you set using set headers with the object you return. Using set headers is compatible with returning a response. Yes. So we use set headers as well as returning the response object, as we did in the server.xml. You can see we run set headers here to set the headers, whether that's cache or content type, and then we just return a new response with a string, essentially, of our XML or whatever it is that we're returning, as long as it matches this. So this was the small change. Instead of just returning all of this stuff, you're now returning just the string, and then you're setting the headers in a function. Okay, So now let's head back to the page's layout. So we took care of the post page. Let's check out the layout here. So the layout is essentially just grabbing the URL and then returning that as a prop URL.pathname. Now, I honestly couldn't tell you why I'm choosing to do this instead of, oh yes, okay. This is fun. The response object has a field for headers as well. Actually, that's a good point. You know what? I honestly don't know. All of the examples showed using set headers. I just kind of figured, oh, that's how you do it. I didn't. Oh, previous stream disappeared. Yeah, I had to do a quick edit on that stream. I quickly flashed an API key, and I immediately, well, one, I had the API key. I had the API key set to a what's it called? I had the API key set to an IP address specifically, so it's not like anybody could have used it. And it was, well, okay, triple. It was one, a sandbox API key. Two, it was set to an IP address, and three, it was only shown for a quick second. So I had to cut. And YouTube is choosing to reprocess that, and it's taking forever. So that is why the previous stream is not live right now, but it will be, and maybe even halfway through this. It looks like it is still processing. So I'll have an eye on that, and then I'll make sure it gets published immediately upon done. So, okay. Yeah, sorry about that, the previous stream thing. That was really obnoxious to me personally. Okay, so this is the layout for posts. Now, I have some stuff to talk about here because we have a transition going on in this route. So you can see here that we have a transition, and the transition is basically just a URL. This transition element is really just having a wrapper. It uses a key to then change the transition here. This is pretty standard in terms of how you want to do a transition on page change in SvelteKit. In fact, this works really well. However, you might be wondering why I'm choosing to, in fact, let me close some of this stuff here to make this a little bit more ergonomic. You might be wondering why I'm choosing to load up the path name from the load function passed as a prop rather than maybe perhaps use the one in the store. Well, in my exploration, this URL path name is available way faster than the one in the store. I don't know if that's intended or what, but if you use the one in the store, I found enough latency there that it was causing some issues. It was like changing the page and then running the transition and then choosing to run it was just weird. So what I did instead is I've now chosen to essentially take the URL from the load function, return it as a prop into the component, and then pass that into the transition. That way the transition is available exactly at page load. I couldn't tell you if that is how it's supposed to be or if that's just like a weird edge case I found, but I found it nonetheless, and I wanted to make sure those animations feel snappy. The last thing you want is an animation that feels crappy on your site. So one thing that we showed a minute ago in the page.ts file was we showed that to import page load from types, if you want to type this function, you just do import type page load. Now, it's important to note that we're in a layout.ts file, and the layout import type is different. So instead of page load, we say layout load. Okay, so that's something that's important to know. We're in a layout file. We have a different type here, and that's layout load. And just like we had with page load here, we're going to say, well, we're going to have to type the whole function. We're going to say export const load : layout load is equal to an async function, just like this. Okay, that's a big difference. Now, likewise, instead of returning props, we're just returning URL. And with the new system here, we cannot just do export let URL. Now, this is also something that I've gotten quite a bit better at from the last stream. Now, the last stream, I was kind of like a little floundering a bit trying to get the data out of here. So the first thing you want to do is remove essentially this import or this prop. And instead of export let URL, which is ultimately the prop we want, it actually takes a little bit more code because we need to export let data. Now, the cool thing about this is that our data can all get automatic types, which is something I really love here. It kind of really kicks ass here. As we can say, I haven't said kicks ass in since the 90s, so this kicks ass. I'll just say that. Can we bring that back? I've been saying it's dope for a long time, but I can just start saying it kicks ass. So import type, and then now we actually get access to a new generated type called layout data. And layout data is going to be from the same place where we say $/ types, like this. And layout data, if we pass in here, is going to make sure that our data is typed correctly. You can see that when I hover over this, it says data has a property inside of it called URL and string. Now, oftentimes you'll want to destructure this immediately. And this is also something that I hadn't really quite thought about too much. The easiest way to destructure this is to create a reactive statement. Then you create a set of parens. Then we say $, or not dollars, we say brackets URL, and then that is equal to data, like this. So this little snippet here is kind of interesting. If I save this, it'll format it here. I'm going to talk about this really quick second. It can also be an anonymous function, right? Or is the keyword function needed? No, this can be an anonymous function. It can be an arrow function. It can be any type of function. So if you want to just have this be an arrow function, that's fine. There's just, with the way that this type works, this type is for the function itself. It's not for the input. So if you were to do the way we had this before, and forgive me for this detour here. If you were to do this the way we had this before, which was export async function load. This is how we had it before. If you were to do it like this before, and you wanted to type this whole function, it would be really impossible. You'd have to essentially have the load input, which isn't a real type here, so don't, and then you'd also have to have the load output, right? Because you can't type a function that's written export async function load. You can't give it as a type for the whole function using TypeScript syntax. What a bummer, right? So you have to assign it into a variable like we're doing here, export const load. Export const load is equal to layout load. From this point, this can be export, or this can be an async function, or it can be just a straight up arrow function, depending on what you like, what your preference is. I don't know, the arrow function kind of looks nice here. I don't know. I'm trying to keep this one code style, so I'm gonna just do function for now, because this is just how I do it, but arrow function kind of looks nice there, doesn't it? Okay. Let's go back to our layout. We have our layout.svelte and our layout.page. Let's split these again. There we go. Okay. So we have our layout load. We've assigned essentially a type to this. We now have inside of our layout.svelte file, we're able to export let data, and we're able to grab the layout data directly from our ./types, which is wonderful. And now this can now be typed into data URL string. What's so great about that is that this now becomes typed to the point where all we have to do to pull out or destructure the URL from here is to do a reactive $, or $:, and then essentially say URL is equal to data. You have to wrap this in parens because it's an expression, and otherwise it's obnoxious. In fact, I think if I take these off of here, yeah, it just straight up doesn't work. So there you go. Just a fun little thing here. I was doing this differently before, but then I saw in the actual Svelte code base, I saw this little ticket, and I was like, yeah, that's what's up. I'll do that. Cool. Kicks ass. So check it out. Now at this point, I think we should be able to have, yeah, I didn't even have to do anything. Now the blog loads. Look at our lovely blog. Wonderful. And let's see if the animation works. Actually, don't know if it's supposed to work on start anyways. But now you'll find out soon, the moment that we click read more in any of these blog posts, more 500 errors, okay? So next step here is to dive into our slug folder where we have page TS and page. There we go. Lots of red in these ones, so it should be fun. Cool. Okay, so what we have here again is we have many of the same issues that you've seen. I, like a total dummy, decided to load up many things, whether or not it's our Svelte files inside of context.module. So let's start with the server side stuff first. So page.ts, you can see, has been imported a ton of these .svelte files. I don't think the authors of the migration script considered somebody doing something like this. And honestly, I don't know why. I did it just for ease, right? So that's fine. Okay, so just like we did the last time, we had if the errors exist, instead of returning them, we're going to want to throw a new error with the error message that we get from jQuery. And that can just be like that. And likewise, get post just needs fetch and variables. The variables come from the params in here. And we don't need, I think, any of these other imports here. Let's get rid of those. Okay. Next thing we'll want to do, just to get some practice from this, is import type. It's always great to get practice. This is a page file, so we can say page load, and page load is going to be from $types. When I said that I was more practiced with this stuff at the beginning of the stream, I mean it. I am way more practiced right now. I can just cruise through this. So we're going to say export const load page load is equal to async function like this. Speed run it. I can speed run these changes. I'm in the pocket here. When I do refactors, this is what I love to do. Just move in deck chairs. So, we don't have any data returned from this loader. We're using jQuery, which just sets this into a store for us. And because it sets us into a store, we don't have to worry about the whole props rigmarole, and we can just deal with bringing in our data. Now, again, likewise, a lot of the imports are going to be totally broken. So I'm going to move all of these imports from here. I'm going to remove the context.module. I'm going to move all of those into here. Then I'm going to uncomment. People might be triggered by my use of the mouse here, but it's okay. I'm even triggered by it, and I just do it. Okay, here we go. Save this. And I wonder if this just works straight up. Let's see. Bingo, bango. And even, this is our, yeah, this even works. This is a custom, this is fun. This is a custom renderer we wrote for Markdown that if you, well, I can't show you the Markdown because it's in a blog post. It's in a database, but we have a custom renderer for Markdown, which makes this little CSS tester widget. It hasn't really made its way onto the site in too many places just yet, but it was a fun project. Maybe I can show how I did that later on. Cool. So this is the blog. Let's go ahead and see if this animation works now. Boom. You know, what would be really great is if this header did some kind of shared element transition into the post itself. Because like the fact that this header is in the same spot, fading in and out, it's kind of weird. Maybe that's something I'll work on in the future here. But you can see that our blog posts are now working correctly, and it's lovely. It all just works. Cool. So what should we do next in this tour? We have posts are done. We have, yeah, maybe it's time that we just do this top down here. For instance, we have the homepage, which I believe is finished. Let's go ahead and double check the homepage. If you're logged in and click on the logo, it takes you to your homepage, which this site is very much, and don't judge this because there's a lot of fun stuff that we're doing on this page, but this is going to be a complex page that we're currently working on. So there's not much else to this page. It just works. Lovely. Okay. Next, let's check out the invoices. You know what? Since I did flash a API key in the last stream, I'm not going to show invoices for fear that my address or something is on them. Actually, no, I take that back. I know it's not. This is the sandbox site. Actually, better yet, instead of just YOLOing it and potentially showing you my address, I'm going to do it off screen here and then show you on screen. Oh, well, it doesn't matter because I hit an issue immediately anyways. So we're in the section of the site, which is the My Account section. The My Account section has something called the auth guard. Now, the auth guard is basically a helper function that we wrote to just quickly and easily check the auth of your site or your user account to make sure that you have the correct, or even just logged in. I don't even think it checks access roles. I think it just checks for login. And if you are logged in, then it's fine. If you aren't, it redirects you. And I know there were some significant changes for that. So we're in the My Account section, and simply just going even to the My Account page overall not only gives a 500 here, but gives a Vite error. And that Vite error is going to be because of a broken import. I'm very sure of it. Let me load these up. Okay, look at this. Okay, so one of the big things here, let's see. I bet that auth guard is in the layout. Okay, let's fix this page first. So just like my other issues here, we're using stuff. Oh, great. Stuff. Let's go ahead. I haven't encountered stuff yet. I don't use stuff often, but I did use it in this section of the site, which is very fun, right? It was fun that it was called stuff for a minute, but it never felt truly good. So let's see what they recommend replacing stuff with. This is the migration guide. In fact, I should post this in here in the show notes even, just in the description, right? So you can see the migration guide, because this thing is really super handy. So instead of returning stuff like we did, you just return the props. And then what I believe is that that data then becomes available no matter where as page data. Let's confirm that. So we no longer set and return stuff or have access to stuff, and you just you get access to all of your data in page.data. That's the answer. Page.data. So we just end up returning the data. So I did this as a way to essentially pass state upwards from a component to the layout. Let's get rid of this import. It's killing my vibe here on the horizontal scroll. So we don't need to type this function because we're not using any parameters, but I'm of the mind where it's important to kind of explicitly type things all the time. You might be of a different persuasion, but for me, I'm saying like page load. I want to type everything because it's not just that it makes me feel more secure with it. It's just that in case something changes at any point, I have then the correct access to get those errors surfaced in the right place. So export const load : page load is now going to be equal to a function. And what's funny is that you would expect the page load to return, be angry that we're returning something named stuff, but it's not going to be, because it's going to check just to make sure essentially that you have an object with properties in here. And stuff could be anything, right? It could literally be anything. So the fact that that was named stuff, I guess there's no way for TypeScript to look out for that. But not only that, you wouldn't want to restrict that, because what if somebody actually wanted their data to be returned as the word stuff? They would want to be able to do that. Okay, so in the page.ts, we're now just returning title instead of stuff.title. And then in page.svelte, we have the title is my account. We cannot find my profile. That's because it moved the import. Okay, so I'm sorry. Better solution would have been to just remove all of the offending code, remove the throws, and then change context module to just be lang ts. I gotta say, everyone, if you're kind of skeptical about these changes from the jump, if you're skeptical about these changes, there has been no greater change in my mind than the removal of context module script from your templates. I think people were upset about this at first because of maybe all of the rigmarole associated with it and maybe the effort that it's taking to do this type of thing. But man, I gotta say, context module was weird. It was a weird thing. And honestly, personally, I'm way happier with this new API. This makes way more sense. Are the proposed SvelteKit changes live? Yes, they are live. If you update your latest version to SvelteKit, we're on version 4.11, but there's probably a newer version out by now because they've been bug fixing. We're on version 4.11, and as of I believe 4.10, at least 4.10, I think. They've been on the latest version with all of the new stuff. If you update, all of your code will break. You'll need to run the Svelte migration script. And as stated already, what did we do? We did a whole live stream yesterday about this, and that live stream is still processing on YouTube. So I will make sure to have that available to you as that finishes being processed. So that way we can you can see all of my trials and tribulations running the migration script if you didn't catch that stream yesterday. I'd be streaming. That's what I'd be doing. Cool. Okay, so page.ts and page.svelte are now here. I can guarantee you that the layout is going to be broken. So if we head back to our page here, we're still most likely going to be getting an error here. Yeah, I didn't even need to refresh it. So we are in the My Account section of the page. Now let's check out our layout. Here we go. Beautiful. Cool. So we have layout, which obviously is doing some fun stuff again. You know, we're doing that whole props as a URL path name thing again. So that'll be fun to deal with. And then just our initial assessment here. What else? We have a lot of migration tasks in this one. We have the auth guard. For the first time, you get to see the auth guard come into play. And then several things going wonky here. So inside of layout.ts, I'm going to keep these two get functions because that's where we're loading our data. These are our two GraphQL calls. Now, authguard, I have since moved to $libauth One of the funny things is that this was one of the prime examples of a situation that Rich was talking about with this refactor. This authguard was just a function and it lived in our routes folder, and SvelteKit was thinking this thing was a route because of that, the authguard. And then even then, so I forgot it was even there. So when I ran the migration, it moved authguard to essentially its own route file. So the migration doubly screwed up authguard. So I had to move it to lib and adjust it quite a bit. Okay, so planet, we don't need planet. By the way, $graphics is an alias we made. It's not a real alias. Or, I mean, it's not a default one, just in case you see that. Let's import our type here so we can get some type safety off the jump. Import type. And if you haven't seen me do this, I'm probably going to describe it every single time. This is a layout, so we need to say layout load, and that's going to be from. This is a new convention, $/types. This makes sure that we have correct load types, and it comes from $/$types. It comes from this because this is essentially generated for us. So export const load : layout load is now going to be equal to an async function. Could be named load or it could just be function. Sorry, I didn't want to save that. That's actually one thing that's been bugging me here in this refactor. You can see that every time I save it, this is a setting in VS Code maybe, where every time I save it, it's like removing unreachable code. Like, don't do that. I don't want you to do that. Okay. If await. Okay, so this is going to be fun here, because we were returning an authguard redirect, which I haven't even touched the redirect. The authguard redirect is just simply returning a status of 302 and redirecting to our login route. So Now we get to actually cover another thing that we haven't talked about, which is redirecting. So when we do an export const auth redirect, I don't want to return this here. Let's move this into the component itself. I might develop a different pattern for this later. But I guess we'll keep this existing here. I'm going to remove authguard redirect from here. And we're going to say throw new redirect, I believe. I actually don't know if this is true. Let me double check on this. Let me double check. For redirects, I haven't done any of these yet. Redirect. Okay. Oh, you need to import redirect, and you throw the redirect function that's imported from SvelteKit, which is different than returning a status of 307 and setting the headers, which is what we're currently doing. So we'll want to import, I believe it's lowercase redirect from SvelteKit. And then instead of throwing a new error, we're going to throw a lowercase redirect, and lowercase redirect expects 2 arguments. The first argument is the location. An argument for the location was not provided. Oh no, that's the second. So I would imagine the first argument is the status code, and the second is the location. And it's telling us it cannot find the environment, and the environment is from app config. Import that. Throw, and I don't think you throw a new redirect. I think you just throw a redirect. Correct. That's one of those tricky things, right? Throw new thing, throw redirect, whatever. Okay, throw redirect. Let's remove this. Okay, so a little bit better here. Check it out. This is kind of a wild line here. But if we await the auth guard, if the auth guard comes back that the user has or does not have access, if the user does not have access, then throw the redirect of 302 to whatever our login route is. So that is the new way in which doing redirects is this throw redirect, status code, path name, import redirect from SvelteKit. Pretty successful. Now the last little bit I have here is that we await promise all, and we're getting our data. But we want to return the URL as the URL props for our animation, which is something that I actually just talked about. If you want to hear the explanation of why we're returning the URL here, it's basically because the one that's available to us in the store is too slow. So this one's fast for the animation. Okay, so the layout.ts is now done. Nice and easy. Now we can get to work on this one, which this time we actually do have a script tag. So I'm going to cut all of this stuff out, remove this. I'm going to try to use my keyboard more now because I'm self-conscious about it now that I'm streaming. Get rid of these get functions, and this user subscription is a store of our GraphQL data. We don't need the auth guard here because we're client side. We do need our planet graphics, and we don't need any of this junk. Cool. Beautiful. Cool. Now, the big difference here is that this is still no longer going to work because the cannot reading undefined of title. That's a whole other issue. But one of the issues here is that URL is not going to be getting populated. When the new way of doing this again, we're getting data. So we once again want to import a new type. And again, I wish that you could use the JS doc style typing in TS because I like writing TS, but there's some really nice things about the JS doc style. We're going to say load data. Is it load data from $/$? I was just bragging about how efficient I was at this stuff, and now I can't even remember if it's load data or not. I don't think it is. I think it's page data. There we go. There's something about it that just looked wrong to me. Export let data becomes a type of page data. This needs to be import type. Thank you. Import type. I'm going to close this file over here. All right, page data. Then we can do our fun reactive statement here to destructure the URL from data. Property URL does not exist on type of stuff title string. That's interesting. Why would title? Why would expect title to be there? Because it's just returning URL. I would imagine that's just like a Svelte sync thing. Probably just have to run Svelte sync. But it's interesting that it would expect to see stuff, not URL. I believe URL is still going to work here, no problem. Now, the big interesting thing here is that we're using page.stuff.title, but we can change stuff now to just straight up data, page.data.title. And I got to say, this is another area where this refactor definitely shines. Looks like I'm getting an alt tag issue. This is a planet background graphic. Okay. Remember I said I was going to do all of this off stream, so I didn't show you my address? Well, it turns out I could have accidentally showed you my address anyways, and I'm glad I didn't. Okay, so my account page now works, and it works here. This is the new my account page, which is not done yet, but it's close. And we will be able to have an animation take place here. But one of the cool things is that we now know that the stuff change is working, because if the stuff change wasn't working, this wouldn't say my account, because this text right here lives in the layout. This is the body down here, and this text is being set inside of the layout itself. So let's go over really quick how we managed to remove stuff. We remove stuff simply by returning a title from a page load, and that then puts any of our props into page data. They're no longer like props, they're page data that live inside of. They can be imported as data, or they can be used now as a subscription, a writable. You can subscribe to that writable and have access to that data here. So we can set data directly from our page into our layout this easily. I gotta say, this is not, I keep saying that there's really great things about this refactor, but I think my favorite thing so far has been the removal of context module. But this kind of is right up there, right? There's no explicit structure to the way that the data has to be passed down anymore. What we're doing is just tossing stuff into data and then making it available here, anywhere. From page to layout, layout to page, who cares? That's wonderful. That makes things really nice. Okay, cool. Cool. Let's keep this going here. We're doing some good stuff. Ugh. Sorry, I'm just reading a Twitter message here. People were wondering about return types, where you have this layout function load, and someone was asking why you would need to explicitly have a return type and a type for the arguments. And the answer is so that way you can make sure that your code is type safe. I mean, return types, in my opinion, are important to kind of explicitly state return types. I don't like to infer return types. All right, now if I head to my orders, this thing's going to break again. So this is the joy of this refactor. And in fact, you might be wondering, like, where does it end, Scott? Where does this refactor end for you? For me, this is a big old refactor. This thing is massive. And part of the reason I wanted to stream it is to show, yeah, it's massive, whatever. But ultimately, you can kind of cruise with it, but it is going to take me a couple of days, and I might as well show you what it looks like in real world usage. Okay, so what we're trying to do now is we have loaded up the My Account page. The My Account page is now working. However, a sub page of the My Account page, the My Orders page, is not working. So if we head into here, you can see we have a couple of migration tasks. And just like suggested in the CLI, if you do a command find, you can see that I'm now down to 33 results of the migration script, which might seem like a whole lot of things to do. It would seem like that to you if you would have not have watched the first stream, where when I first ran it, there was like 60 plus. So we're about halfway done with this refactor. Giving myself a hand here, about halfway done. Time to keep cruising on this thing. It's kind of fun to talk through this and do this streaming wise. If you're enjoying this type of stream, let me know. I don't do a ton of live streaming, but I wouldn't mind getting into it a little bit more, especially for stuff like this where, it's stuff I got to do anyways. I'm going to be doing this off camera. I'm kind of a talker, man. I can just talk for a long time. So as long as I can just talk, it's all good. All right. So this is the page.ts. Let's get rid of that thing. And likewise, get user orders, get user downloads. That's good. Stuff. This is actually going to be great because we already changed in the layout. All I'm going to have to do now is just return title my orders. That's it. The only thing left to do in this one is import type. You know what? I should set this up. Watch this, guys. This is going to be efficiency in action here. It's only taken me 30 components to realize that I shouldn't be typing this out every single time. We're going to say load, or this is a page load. We're going to say page load from $/$types. Okay. This line is going to be the same so often here that what I want to do is I want to select this code, and then I'm going to make a snippet out of this. I have a really awesome snippet generator plugin called Easy Snippet. You can see it here as the highlighted one that says Easy Snippet. Now, Easy Snippet is going to allow us to easily create a snippet from suggestion. And I actually have this saved to a keyboard shortcut. I didn't know that. I have it saved to Command Shift S. Let's try that. Command Shift S. That's not. What? Okay, that didn't work. So let's create a new snippet. Easy snippet, create new snippet. So the snippet key is going to be what I want to name this snippet, or what the shorthand for this snippet should be. The shorthand for this snippet should be page load type page load. And how about Svelte type page load? Svelte type page load. Svelte type page load. How do y'all feel about that? I guess it doesn't matter. I have to know it works. Svelte type page load. Okay, let's try this now. New snippet. I like really short snippets, as you can see. SC, SKL. This is Svelte kit load. SS is Svelte style, which does with post CSS. STS is Svelte or script TypeScript, where it creates the script with a TypeScript. I don't know what AF is. So page load types, PGT, page load type. Page load type is pretty good. And why did it save this? That's funny that it saved this as I guess it is a TypeScript. Page load type. I think you're right about naming this page load type, PLT. It's a PLT, like a PYT, PLT. Let's try that. I like page load type. Thank you, Antonio, for that one. PLT. I think that's going to make it way easier to remember. Oh, and I goofed up the snippet. Okay. In case you didn't know, this plugin is really great here. PLT, prefix is PLT, Dollar sign. Hey, I had the dollar sign. Oh, huh. How do you escape? This is funny because in snippet world in VS Code, PLT, watch this. PLT, it's going to import this without the dollar sign because it sees the dollar sign as an argument. So Svelte or VS Code snippet with dollar sign character. I don't know how you escape a character in a snippet. Escaping the dollar sign character in snippets. Try doubling it. Somebody says to double it, and that's the answer. But it will. Okay, the right way to do this is to use 2 forward slashes. So my approach to do 1 forward slash was close but no cigar. So we're going to say // type. Okay, let's try that now. PLT. No, that's not right. Did not work. Let's try this again. Okay, so in case you're just viewing, we're trying to escape the dollar sign here in this snippet because the dollar sign is telling VS Code that that's where you should put the cursor. This doesn't mess up tabbing in VSC, i.e. if you use the dollar sign approach, it assumes you want to. This makes the dollar sign a literal part of the snippet rather than the start of a prefix. Yeah, I tried the double forward slashes and it doesn't work. So that's really funny that Visual Studio or Stack Overflow is trying to tell me that the double forward slash works, but it doesn't work. So I might just do the double dollar sign thing and deal with the cursor jumping. Still holds up in late 2020. The right way is to do a double forward slash. I don't think that is the right way because it's not working for me unless I am seriously out of my gourd here. Escape. What language is this? Right now we're editing a snippet for TypeScript and for SvelteKit. You need to escape the dollar sign of the variable, and it shows in their example using a double escape. It shows this in the VS Code docs. However, I'm wondering if that is still the case because of Easy Snippet. Easy Snippet VS Code. Okay, so we're using a plugin called Easy Snippet, which is one of my favorite plugins to create these snippets, and this allows us to easily generate them. But we're currently unable to escape the dollar sign character inside of this snippet. Escape. Not escaping dollar sign when creating a snippet. It's an open issue. Oh, great. So we're going to do the double dollar sign trick. I'm not happy about it. We're going to do that. Also, I don't know how to rename it now that it's over here as a file. Whatever. I'm going to give this a big fat whatever here. I'm going to move on because I've spent a lot of time on it. So we named this PLT tab. You can now see we have the dollar sign type in here. Export const load is going to be the type of page load is equal to an async function with a fetch in here. And we're going to then grab all of our data from a promise all, and we're going to return the title so that it gets set in data into our page layout. So it's basically moving our state upwards, right? From the page TS file all the way up to a layout. All right, let's fix now the page.svelte, the migration task. Let's get rid of this thing. Let's get rid of this line. Let's uncomment out this one. Actually, we don't need either of the get functions. We don't need any of this stuff. So we can just say sayonara. Let's get rid of it. Okay. So this should kind of work now. I actually think this should straight up work. Let's see if it was. If it doesn't, hey, this is the sandbox site. If you're wondering, these are all the times I'm testing orders. I'm constantly testing orders. Cool. This is the new My Orders page. Next thing we want to do. By the way, I've been streaming and talking now for an hour. Been straight up talking for an hour. Maybe I should let folks on Twitter know again. Should be doing this as like a, you know, they have like for charity where you have to like dance for, 2 hours or 10 hours or something. Should be doing that. That's what I should be doing here. Refactors live for charity. How long can I do this for without getting sleepy? Okay, so I finally decided to create a snippet for page load. You know what? Page load type. I should also create a snippet for error load type as well. So we have page load type, or not error load, layout. Ooh, come on. Layout load type from types. Let's do that while we're here. Easy snippet, create snippet. This is going to be LLT, enter, for layout load type. And this time it escaped the forward slash, but then it gives me guff about it, so I have to do a $, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we have LLT and PLT. Very good. I'll also make a snippet for the data next time I need to do that. Okay, so my orders inside of the My profile is now complete, and you can see we have a nice little page transition between those. That's working. Caching data is not working because it seems like it has to load that data each time. It shouldn't have to do that, but I can approach that later. That's probably a jQuery issue. Next thing you want to see is we have a My subscription. My subscription is going to break. My subscription is kind of an intense part of this site, but I don't think the page or these two things should be tough at all. So let's approach this one first and foremost. So like we have been doing, let's go ahead and start with the page.ts. Again, this is a page, so PLT applies here, page load type. Look at that. Likewise, we're not going to be using the user subscription. We can get rid of that. We will be using these get functions. We won't be using these Svelte files. And support email, I don't think we'll be using this as well. Well, we're just loading data from here. We're also not loading any team state. We will be removing this error return here, and we'll be returning, instead of stuff title, we're just going to be returning title as a data property here to pass up to the layout. Okay, next thing we're going to do is type our load function. So export const load : page load is equal to async function, just an anonymous function here. There we go, like that. Bingo bango. Lovely. Look at that. Cruising on this stuff now. Okay. Next, let's go ahead. Do I have a script tag in this file? I don't. Since I don't have a script tag in this file, I'm going to just use the one we have currently here and remove context module, remove this error throw, and then bring in all of our imports, and then remove the load function stuff. Beauty. Okay. Next thing I want to do is get rid of anything that's a get function. I don't need get functions. Anyone know the keyboard shortcut to go to a beginning of a word? I don't use that. Like select a whole word. I feel like that would be useful for me to know. Select a whole word in VS Code seems like something that I should be doing, but I'm not. We're going to ignore the rest of these TypeScript errors because that's something that's in flux in the site. And you can see here, the My subscription page is currently working. Okay. This is a fake credit card, so, don't look too much into that. Orders, My subscription. Any word on if YouTube is still, I would imagine YouTube is still processing that stupid video. Control D selects the whole word. Let's give that a try. So I have my cursor on subscription, Control D. And then if it puts it at the end of it. How do you do the same thing but put your cursor at the beginning? Not that I need to do that, but just curious. Love that. Control D. I might want to, I know that, these are kind of established things, but like, I kind of want to make my own mnemonic for that. D, whole word. Like, what would I do for that? Hyper W for the word? Hyper W. Do I have Hyper W as a shortcut? Keyboard shortcut. I think it's just under keyboard. Preferences, open keyboard shortcuts. Type for this is Hyper W. I don't think there is a Hyper W. So select word, cursor. Oh man. Select word. Okay. Cursor, word, and right select. No. Select word. W. Command W. Close window. Oh, wait, why am I looking at W? Sorry, D. Command D. Add selection to next find. That's interesting that's the add selection to next find match. Is that what this is? Command D. Yeah, that is it. All right, well, what if that seems weird to me. That seems weird. Anybody know why that's add selection to next match? If we just want to say select word, I get that Command D works, and that's wonderful. But I'm just curious. Cursor and select, insert, cursor, word, particle, start, last cursor, word select. A little detour here. Sorry, folks. Either way, I'm going to change Command W or Command D to be, we're going to click edit here. I'm going to change this to be Hyper W. Okay. So why did I change that? Because Command D means nothing to me. It means nothing to me. I like to do that. For instance, to delete a line, I couldn't tell you what the default delete a line is, but I changed to Hyper L. Why? Because it's a line, and I want to remove the line. Hyper L. So now Hyper W now selects the word beauty. Okay. If you aren't out there changing key bindings to make them nicer for yourself, then I don't know what you're doing, because for me, I got to say, I love my key bindings. I want to console log something, Command L. I want to delete the line, Hyper L. Log line, whatever. Beauty. Okay, so the My Subscription page is now working. So we have My Orders, My Profile, My Subscription. Next, Author Tools. This section of the site isn't even really live for anyone yet, but I should fix it anyways. Author Tools are for our authors to have access to affiliate links and different stuff that they would need for their courses, to see sales or those types of things. So that's why Author Tools exist. In fact, if you're interested in becoming an author for Level Up tutorials, we are now essentially hiring for next year and the last bit of this year. So if you are interested in becoming a Level Up Tutorials author, we pay royalties based on streams, and we pay, for each sale as well. So I'd like to think that, our author program is pretty sweet. And if you want to try making a course for us, hit us up. Just shoot me a message somewhere. Twitter, DMs are open anywhere you want. Okay, So what we're taking, if you haven't been watching, or you're just now coming in, or you've been here or whatever, what we're doing is we're refactoring the site to the new version of SvelteKit. There were some major API changes, major API changes, and I gotta say I'm loving them. However, we're just doing this slowly but surely here, and so we're on the author tools section of the site, which is interesting. This says my subscription. That's wrong. Author tools, page, and page.ts. Okay. Now that we have been really efficient with this stuff, the way that I've been doing this, and I'm going to say this, the way that it's been working for us has been to do the page.ts files first, and then do the page.svelte files. So we're going to say PLT for page load type as a new snippet that we made. Export const load : page load is equal to async function. There we go. Next thing, we're going to remove this error being thrown. We're going to change the return to just return my author tools as the page title. And as you can see here, the only thing we're really doing in this file is loading get author series. So here, I'm going to try to use my new command W, or hyper W, delete. There we go. Beautiful. Thank you, all of y'all, for the control command D tip. Okay, beauty. Look at that. Efficiency, right? All right, next thing we're going to do, since we're not using any data, we can actually just close this, is we can just start deleting stuff. There is a script file in this. So because there's a script file in this, I can start just grabbing imports and moving them. Now, you probably noticed that most of the imports that we had, we used. So I'm going to move these. If you don't know this shortcut, if you have a line selected and you hold the Option key, it moves that line up and down if you hit the up and down keys. And likewise, if you hold Shift while doing that, it will duplicate that. Now, what's funny is that I thought that the same thing to move a selection left and right was not the same. So I actually mapped mine to be Option left and right. So now I could move a selection left and right, and like, I don't know why that's not the default. That seems like it should be the default, right? Maybe it's just me. Okay. I wonder if this is it. If this is all I have to do here. We're getting some red. Don't worry about that red. Some of this stuff. I'm going to be hitting the I'm going to be hitting the TypeScript errors pretty hard after this. This site is in major flux right now. If you haven't been paying attention, we're doing a full rewrite of our site UI, and that in turn is causing a lot of TypeScript errors. Magnus asks if I'll dive into speech coding. You know what? I would love to dive further into speech coding after this redesign is done. I don't want to do it in the middle of this redesign. I think I could do it. I mean, considering I've just been talking for, an hour and some change now, hour 17 minutes, and I feel fine. So I would probably talk for a lot longer. So we now have author tools and my profile, all this stuff working. You can see this all works. Next one is my affiliate information. My affiliate information. If you are interested in becoming an affiliate for Level Up Tutorials, we do affiliate payments. We pay out 40% of each sale or subscription that people sign up for. So that's something that's really neat. I'm sorry, I might have missed something in author tools really quick here. Let me double check. You can sign up on the site. If you have an account on Level Up Tutorials, you go to the My Account, or the homepage. There's like a little modal that says Become an Affiliate. All right, author tools. I believe if you get into course details, there we go. Okay, so I found a missing route that I had not fixed. Let's fix that one. This is the author tools for an individual course. This stuff isn't even done. So if it looks weird when we're doing it, don't worry about it. We don't need a toast message. We don't need get series by ID. We don't need add course notes because that's a mutation. But we do need a page load type, PLT. Pretty on top. Page I'm trying to sing PLT to page load type. It's not working. Export cons load page load is mostly not working because I couldn't remember the words to PLT or PYT, which, come on. I just want to import you page load type. Okay, here we go. Only on this stream are you going to hear, I just want to import page load type. Okay, there we go. All right, I don't know if we need the get series by ID function. I don't think we're using this here. Okay, I think this should be it. It works. Tell us about your goal course. Okay, this page is still being worked on. Oh, if y'all want to see another neat thing, we have an AutoForm plugin. This is a plugin that I made. AutoForm has an action where you can have, this is just a function. So AutoForm is essentially an automatic form generator for Svelte, where then you pass in the data as the model, and then you also have an input, which is the data structure here. And the data structure is simply just the types of inputs that you want and their information, and that automatically generates our forms. However, our button types are different. We have our own custom button, so I need to pass it in here as a button. Save notes, and the type, whoa! Yo, VS Code, why are you doing that? Type is going to be submit. Yo, cut that out, VS Code. Okay. Now we're using our own button, and that button should be, here you go, save notes. Why in the world is the submit button still here, though? Oh, AutoForm, what you doing? Reveal. Maybe I need a prop in here that's submit text, show submit. It's a Boolean. I don't even know my own package. Submit text, show submit is equal to false. Here we go. Let's see. What should we put in the page plus page.ts and page.server.ts file? What's the difference? So I'm going to show you, I'll show you two different ones here. That way you can get an idea. So what is the difference between page.ts plus, I'm just going to call it page. It's too hard to say plus. What's the difference between page.ts and page, make sure this file's open so it doesn't get replaced, page.server.ts. What's the difference between these two files? The difference between these two files, you'll notice they look very similar. Export const load, page load. In fact, now's a good time that we can do a PLT export const load. Make sure all these load functions are typed while I'm here, right? While I'm touching the file, might as well make sure it's better than when I left it. Oh, page load type has no exported member. I think it's page server load. Oh, look at me just guessing and guessing correctly. There we go. Cannot find page server load. I did not spell it correctly. There we go. Beautiful. So what's the difference between these two files? You can see they look the exact same. The difference is that page load server here is only being run on the server. Now, why might you only want to run a file on the server? Why might you want to, like, this page.ts is run on the server and the client. So just like when your script context module existed in the past, that anything that you put in script context module ran on the client and the server, meaning that if I do an await get series by ID, this is running off and doing a GraphQL query, right? This is doing a GraphQL query. It does it on the server side or it does it on the client side when I cliently navigate to something. However, There are some times you want to run something only on the server. For instance, this over here is doing a literal database call. So instead of hitting an API, this is connecting to a database. Now, you're not going to be connecting to your database client side. That's not going to happen, right? So what we do here on the server side, which is one of the really great new conventions in SvelteKit, is in the past what we had to do is create an endpoint and then pass that data into the component via the endpoint. But now what we can do is just simply create a page.server.ts. We can do our database call and we can return our data directly into the component. So that's the difference, right? We're doing an API call in this one, so it makes sense that we can do an API call from the client or the server. But for a literal database pull, it doesn't make sense to do that on the client side. So that's why we are not. I hope that answered your question there. Looks like we're getting an undefined for this page. And that exists because page.ts is not returning a name. I think it's return title, and this is the name of the course. So this is actually interesting. Get series by ID should give us the data for this course. And I want this to be dynamically generated. So I can say data.series.title. Let's see if it does actually. Playlist by ID. Okay, that's what it's. Playlist by ID. What a dumb property title. Or my course. Okay, so if playlist data title doesn't exist, just have a default string up here. Exploring browser APIs. I should maybe do something about this CSS-wise, but I got some work to do on this page CSS-wise anyways, so I'll hit that later. Cool. So our course information is now working. Next is the My Affiliate information. So author tools, check, they're done. Affiliate information, let's see what we have here. Let's close some of these files. Closed one of the ones I wanted to have open. Okay. Beauty. Yeah, I use this as an opportunity to ask me questions about this refactor if you want. I got nothing to do other than editing tons and tons of files here. I've been going now for an hour and a half, and thank you if you've been watching. I really appreciate every single person that's been hopping on the stream at any given point. This has been a bit of a marathon here. So let me know if you have any questions specifically or anything about what I'm doing here or why I'm doing it, and I'll do my best to explain that as we go. Yeah, someone says, I like how you saved some time figuring out what's going to break before you got to that point. Yeah, TypeScript is the best. I love TypeScript. Okay, let's do this next one, page.ts. Okay, so page.ts, this is in the affiliate page. First thing I'm going to do is remove this migration thing. Then I'm going to remove stuff and just have it be returning the object as the data. Are there other developers that work on the site? Yeah, occasionally. We don't have anyone full-time. I built the site. Basically. I've had a lot of help from, there's a couple of people who have been working on the site with me for a long time. Eric Sartorius is he's a breakdancer. He's a crewmate of mine. I've known him for a long time. And he learned how to dev through Level Up tutorials and Code Academy, and he's self-taught. And then he's been working on the site with me for a long time, just freelance. And he's super awesome, but he just kind of picks up tasks here and there because he has a full-time job. And but for the most part, yeah, it's me. It's my baby. I built this thing from scratch. It used to be on Drupal, then it was on Meteor, and then now it's then it was in React, and now it's on SvelteKit. Do I plan on rewriting it again ever? No, I don't. This is hopefully the last major rewrite. I like SvelteKit. I'm not going to change that. I was never quite happy with the React version of the site, if we're being entirely honest. And if you see me talking shit about React, that's probably gonna happen. This is PLT. All right, PLT. export. Thank you, by the way. Thank you so much to Antonio, I believe, for coming up with PLT, because it's been awesome. Export const PLT has been definitely the right mnemonic for me. I don't know too many or how much you people watching or anyone knows about that. I have dyslexia and I have ADHD and I have a really short memory. In fact, my dyslexia is mostly because of my short memory, and the short memory really can be difficult when you're trying to memorize things. So for me personally, I need mnemonics to remember anything. So the fact that I could take PLT into PYT to remember a snippet for page load types has been big for me already. So thanks, Antonio, for that one. Somebody's asking about what PLT is. PLT is a snippet that I wrote earlier on in the stream to import type page load from types, because I was having to do it in every file. And just like we have page load types, we have LLT, limited liability types. But okay. Okay, so now I'm on to page.svelte. Let's get rid of this migration task. You'll notice here that I do have a script tag in here. So after I get rid of this migration type, I'm going to grab these imports and I'm going to move them down here into this one, and then I'm going to uncomment them out, and then I'm going to remove all of this stuff, and then I'm going to save to get some formatting. Then I'm going to remove. There we go. Beautiful. Did that work? Did that do it all? There we go, my affiliate information. You can tell this is the sandbox version of the site because my my test data is things like test yo 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 yo. That's kind of how I roll with it. Cool. So this is my referral code, affiliate sales, working. Beautiful. I don't have any sub routes in this file, so I think we're done here. And there's some managed team stuff, but I want to rewrite some of that stuff overall anyway. So I'm not going to I'll spare you the details of me rewriting all the team stuff. By the way, if you work for a company and that company is interested in signing up for an account, we do have team accounts, and they make it really easy to have your whole team on one account, to share accounts, to have the company pay for everyone's account. So just a heads up. Okay. Now I'm going to log out of the site. Let's click log out. I'm going to click log in. In the current version of the site, you might have noticed that we had like a modal. Instead of like Austin Powers or something. We had a modal for the login. And let me tell you, as somebody who supported a modal and a login page, even though they're the same component, the amount of weird little issues that occur from that have been kind of a lot. So if you were like thinking, I want a modal for a login and a page for a login, just do the page, man. I did a little bit of a tour, and I noticed that like just about everybody uses a page for a login these days instead of a modal. There's some people using a modal for logins. It's certainly not uncommon, but take it from me, the guy who's been there and done it. I've been finding that just having a page is already better for me. Okay, so we're going to hit the login page, which actually seems like it's working, which, shout out to the Svelte team for the migration script, but this seems to be maybe one of the first pages that the migration script is actually fixed. And it even threw a redirect for me. That's wonderful. So and I got to say, a lot of it's my fault. This site's complex, right? We're using GraphQL. We're using a bunch of our own fancy stuff that I've been writing for who knows how long, just trying to add some nice little tools. So definitely some odd use cases in this site, but hey, it looks like it officially found this redirect. Now, why is page login? Because auth login. The route is auth login. There is no page. So do I even need a page for this? Let's see. If I delete this page.svelte, and if I have this, and then I just try to go to, essentially, instead of auth login, if I just try to go to login, the redirect works. So I don't need even a page.svelte. However, I do want to make this a TS file because, why? I don't know. Why? I just do. Cannot find module types. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Export. Sometimes if it says it can't find it, it's because it's like a Svelte sync type of things. Are there times where modals are better? For example, when the current page, you know what? There are times for that, and I think it might be better to capture where they're the page that they're at and then redirect them afterwards. I just found that like a modal, especially on mobile, causes so many issues. We use modals a lot on this site, and I can't tell you just how many times a modal has been an issue on the site. So, I often think I'm being slick by dropping in a modal to do something, and then just trying to interact with Safari on the web becomes a major pain. So, I don't know. I think there's probably a lot of nuance to that discussion that I'm just glossing over, but cannot find its coordinating type declaration. You know what? I just wonder if that's a thing because this wasn't a TS file. I bet that's it. If I were to run Svelte sync, I bet that would be fine. I'm just going to leave it for now. But while I'm here, while I've logged out and I have the auth page here, I might as well change some things in this page. Login type some. Oh yeah, so people are asking if it's just me on the site. We also had Tom Allen worked for Level Up for a little while. He worked for us for about a year. He wrote a lot of our team functionality and also did some like really neat stuff for us. So he has moved on to other things, but Tom Allen, you may see his name in these commits. He's a cool guy, really cool guy. Here's something fun, y'all, with this code base. So you'll see this login header is kind of dinky here. Well, I've kind of been making our own primitives, which, it feels like maybe shouldn't do this, but I kind of like this. I have capital H3s, capital B buttons, capital I inputs. You'll see these all around. And these are our own, these are kind of like loaded primitives. You can think of these. And the loaded primitives, they all have more than just style associated with them, but they also have maybe other additional functionality. Get login link via email or reset your password. These buttons are huge. We're going to say size is equal to small. It allows me to do stuff like this, right? Where you could do this with classes, but now I get TypeScript support for this. If you were doing these with classes or atomic CSS, you'd be like, what are the available classes I have for button? Who knows? Literally anything. But now I have size is equal to, and I can get the TypeScript support to that to know. Okay, well, it's going to tell me it's duplicate, but I can get the TypeScript support to know this is smaller, normal, or undefined, right? And now I have some small buttons. I think they're less obnoxious. This page needs some design work. Let's log in. Okay. Okay, cool. Refactor. It's going pretty well here. So the author's guide. Does this stuff even exist? There's nothing in the author's guide, so we'll ignore the author's guide because it's most likely fixed. Charitable contributions. Let's go ahead and make sure that our charitable contributions page is working. We donate to a number of companies: Black Girls Code, All Star Code, Vets Who Code. We donate to actually a couple more too, so maybe I should be updating this. But we don't like to, I don't know, flaunt it because it seems like that's not the type of thing you should flaunt, right? I don't know, it's just me that it's like, I don't feel the need to be like, we donate to all these great companies. But we do, we donate monthly to as many companies as we can. Because that's what's right. That's what's right to do. So if you are subscribing to Level Up Tutorials, just know you're supporting some really awesome charities. And we do our work to make sure that charities are legit. We're not throwing the money into a black hole. We're making change, hopefully. Okay. So the My Account stuff is done. What about the newsletter? This page looks fine. And by looks fine, I mean like, the code looks fine for it. Whether or not it looks like this community page is a different story. Newsletter. It's going to look like this Hey, yeah, this is still in flux. This page isn't done. Let's go ahead and do the next page down the line. Path. You know what? I could not tell you what the path page is. I think this is a new page. We're renaming some stuff on the site. Right now, the stuff on the site is named, well, initially it was a tutorial and a playlist, and I got those names from YouTube. So you'll see oftentimes playlist, and then playlist doesn't feel like what we're trying to do. It's not a playlist. So I always called them a series. But it turns out everybody calls it series courses, and we were calling courses a collection of series. So what we ended up having was this our own lexicon that people weren't familiar with. They've come from Egghead or Front End Masters or any of these other ones. And a course to them is what a series is to us, and a course for us is not. So they go to courses and they see like 5 courses because our courses are collections. People call those learning paths other places. So it's like we are taking this opportunity to change the naming for everything. So if you now see our courses or our library page is now called library, and we have these are now courses, course, and these are skill paths or paths, and take on TypeScript, get in Gatsby, mastering React. If you click on any of these, it's not going to take you anywhere just yet. In fact, I wonder where this even takes you. It takes you to the courses page for Take on TypeScript, which that's a page that I don't think I've even really touched that so far. But it's gonna. I think I should do a redirect to the path page. Post, you saw us take on posts. Posts are working correctly. We even have nice animations for our posts. They fade in, fade out. Beautiful. Let's go into the privacy policy, which I can't imagine the privacy policy is broken. Let's see, terms of use, privacy policy works fine. The pro page. This page is going to be nasty. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because this page, I don't even know if this is a page that will exist in the new version of the site. So it works, and that's all we're looking for. And by nasty, I'm talking about it's not going to look nice. But it works. That's all we're checking for. Pro EDU. Now, the Pro EDU page is just, this is interesting. Oh, I changed the route at some point to be, and this is another shout out to the migration script. Migration script, what it did is it changed the return redirect type into a throw redirect imported from SvelteKit. So I didn't write this code. The rewrite scripted, or the migration scripted, and that's just wonderful. So it turns out the migration script really can save your bacon a whole bunch. But also at the same time, if your site is super complex, then I don't know. Page load type. I just be talking here. I mean, that's really it. Const load : page load is equal to async function load. Beautiful. Couldn't get any better than that, right? I don't know. Next one is going to be the receipt page. Now the receipt page, you can see we have a layout.reset.svelte. And I'm pretty sure layout.reset.svelte, is that using a named layout named reset? Is this just an old thing? Or maybe I haven't even looked at this in a very long time. We're going to dig through this ourselves. We're going to dig through this together. Those of you who are just hopping on the stream, or you've been here for a while, whatever, what we're doing here is we're taking care of all of the migration script stuff. We started out with 60-some files. I think it was like 64 files. The video from yesterday showed all of the trouble there. We also have a ton of monorepo stuff where we migrated all of the things with the migration script in the last video. I am reprocessing that video, which is why it's not public currently. And YouTube is, I told it to do that a long time ago, and YouTube is just like, let me do that whenever I get around to it. And it's just taking a very, very long time. So if you're wondering where the stream from yesterday was, that's where it is. It's processing. I'll fix it. I'll get it up. So we now have 24, which is 10 less than we had before. We are cruising on this thing, 10 less. And some of these I'm going to do off screen, like our admin content stuff. I would love to show you a lot of our admin, but it does directly show you like our sales information and our user account stuff. So like there's only so much I can show you from the admin section of the site. Just an FYI. Okay. I'm also right now going to pull this off screen while I try to load up my receipt page, my receipts page. Reason being is I don't know if my address is on those receipts. I'm going to view a receipt, and I am getting the 500 error, but let's just worry about the code for now. And then if it's working off screen, I will move it onto screen as long as it does not have my address on it, because that would be grand. That would be bad. So let's check it out. For the layout, we have this weird layout reset, which honestly, I don't even want this thing anyways. And you could tell the migration script had no idea what to do with this. So we'll delete the layout reset. If I need any sort of a layout, I will do that on my own time here. Okay, page.ts, page.svelte. We have now been streaming for an hour and 44 minutes. An hour and 44 minutes, and we've largely gotten down, like I'd say 20 of the tasks, which, you know, this is like a day's work. I knew this would be like a full day worth of migration for me, so I'm not surprised. I'm not upset about it. So we have a page.ts. Let's start with the page once more. We're going to do the same thing we've been doing over and over again, which is PLT. We're going to bring in our pretty load type, export const load, page load is equal to function load, all typed, ready to go. We don't need to return anything from this bad boy, and bingo, bango, crushing it. Remove that extra import, and we're set. Page is done. Next, we do have a script tag on here. So all I need to do is move this one single import that includes our receipt store. There we go. Remove this stuff, and I think we should be good. So I'm getting an error on my screen, which you probably can't see because, again, I don't want to flash my address to you, but it says that the error says that it cannot read created at of null, meaning that order is null, and that is in the head here, which means I should probably wrap this whole thing right now inside of receipt.order. If receipt.order exists, then show this page. Again, a lot of these, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I did this inside of the, I don't know what I'm doing here. I've been streaming for too long. I don't think you can do Svelte head inside of an if statement. So it's angry about that. Invalid time value. Oh, you got to be kidding me. So I had the invoice as like the day of the invoice. Let's just get rid of that. I don't think the date time of the invoice needs to be here for the page title itself. Although people did express wanting to have the page order number, which I think is fine. I don't know if the date needs to be in the invoice page title. Which is interesting here because what I'm seeing is straight up that this page isn't loading at all over on my end. And I'm seeing that because it doesn't look like there is any data. Now, I do want to avoid showing my address if possible, which I don't think it's in here. I'm just going to say refresh. Let's see what happened on the data here. Network request tab is one of my favorite tabs in the world. Let's go to fetch XHR. And it might not even be doing a fetch because this is being loaded server side. View page source. Let's look for page data. Where is our page data? I don't even see any page data in here. That makes me wonder if unexpected end of JSON. Let's do a refresh of this to see if that unexpected JSON is coming from this. I don't think it is. So it's not getting data for some reason. Data is not. Someone's asking, is this VS Code? This is VS Code, and this is iTerm. So I use iTerm. I don't like using the command line in VS Code. Couldn't tell you why. Just don't like it. One thing that we could do is you could do debugging, but you could also just do a console log of the receipt store. The receipt store will have whether or not there is any data, any errors in here, but it seems like the order is just null. So that's odd in itself. The data is being loaded via this await get receipt with ID params.id. So another thing I could check would be that params.id is getting passed incorrectly, params.id. And if you'll notice, params.id is being loaded correctly. Okay, params.id is here. And so our await get receipt is just straight up not returning anything. So let's say const data await.receipt. Let's see what's actually coming in from the get receipt. This is a GraphQL call. This should probably, I don't know why this is showing up client side. I guess it is showing up client side. The first time it fires, errors are undefined. Order is equal to null. Okay. You know what? The fact that this page isn't throwing a migration error is enough for me right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slap a to-do on this thing. And I'm going to figure out to-do, figure out why receipt is null. I'm going to imagine there's maybe an error somewhere in our API. Something's not getting hit. That's why. But if you want me to fix this on stream, it's just not super relevant to what we're doing right now. So that's why I won't do that. Oh, check it out. Good news, everyone. The stream from yesterday has now finished processing. If you're wondering about what happened to the stream yesterday, I did happen to flash a API key that... which is, awesome, right? But the API key was one is linked to a IP address. So you couldn't do anything with that anyways. But I needed to, also I changed the API keys. So I changed the API keys. I made sure to refresh any sort of IP stuff. I checked the logs. And it was also on top of all of that, it was a sandbox API. So it wasn't even like a production API or anything like that. Either way, I had to edit that out. So I did that. Show the get receipt once. Yeah, the get receipt. So this is a generated function. And this comes generated to us through our plugin called a jQuery. And you can see export async function get receipt takes in the Svelte fetch and the variables. And first, what we do is we check our cache for the data. If the cache exists in the data, then we just return the data. Otherwise, what we do is we do gfetching. And gfetch is our own custom GraphQL. Mr. Constanho says he wonders why VS Code doesn't like Svelte as much as your VS Code. It might be because maybe you do have too many extensions installed. I know you said that you have a bunch installed. Let's see what I have installed. Maybe you can just install whatever you want. I'm not using the insiders build. That's one thing. Yeah, Adrian, this stuff was not, it was, you don't want to flash an API key in general, but like it wasn't, it could have been a lot worse. Let's just say that. It could have been a production API key or like our Braintree API key or something like that. Like, oof. Or even our database or something. No thanks. So Svelte IntelliSense, I have installed Svelte 3 snippets, Svelte for VS Code, and I think those are the only ones I have installed. I actually honestly have no idea what the rest of these even would be. Snippet auto import. Yeah, you can do that already with TypeScript. A dark version of the framework color scheme. Interesting. Svelte preview. I have no idea what many of these are. Interesting. There's a lot more here. Man, Svelte 2. Who remembers Svelte 2? I do. I started using Svelte in Svelte 2, but it wasn't until Svelte 3 in which I really went nuts with like, I moved my site to Sapper. I started using Svelte like crazy. And it wasn't until SvelteKit came out that I said, or SvelteKit existed, that I said, you know what? I'm tired of this React stuff. Tired of it. All right. Where are we at? So receipt. So sign up, just like the auth login one. This is just a straight up redirect. Now, one of the things that is kind of a bummer with this new API is that this sign up redirect in the past could have like laid low as just a single file with a redirect in it, right? But now that it's a whole thing, it's a folder, and it kind of feels like it's a thing, right? When I see the sign up folder, I'm like, oh, there must be a sign up route. Not that the only thing inside of it is a redirect. So that's kind of a bummer, but it's my fault for changing the route. Const load is colon page load. Here we go. Okay. Sitemap.xml. This is the one. No, we haven't touched sitemap.xml. This is a perfect use case. So this is our sitemap, and sitemaps are lovely when they're just automatic. So we have a sitemap.xml, and you can see it's going to complain. Now this one's interesting. This is kind of going full circle, because at the very beginning of this stream, this is what we were working on. You can see we set our const headers via const headers, and then just simply return them all somewhere in here. Holy cow, I don't know why I chose to do this. I have like a string as the body. Let's clean this thing up. We'll say this is const XML. I don't want to name this XML string. We'll just say const XML is equal to this string. Get rid of that, get rid of this. Const is equal to XML string, and we're going to return a new response, and that's going to be just equal to the XML here. This is the XML. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know why I felt the need to do that, but get into the XFL. All right. Let's stay focused here. The export async function, this becomes a get, and then we want to bring in the set headers function. Now, someone else commented earlier on in the stream that they weren't quite sure why. So we are using a set headers function instead of just returning the headers in the response, in the new response. And I gotta say, I don't know why. That would be a great question. So that was a whole lead up for me to tell you that I don't know why we use a set headers function instead of just doing it in the new response object. Either way, this is how we do it. Instead of having headers that we return, we just say set headers, cache control, XML, whatever, application XML, return response XML. And this should be good, although I don't remember what the type for this is. So let's go ahead and look for feed.xml. And okay, that's actually a perfect use. If you were out there saying like all these plus files, this is going to make hunting for things really difficult with all of the file names being the same, watch this as I do it. I do Command P. Oh, I don't know what I just there. Okay, I do Command P to bring up the command prompt, and then I just say feed.xml the same way that I would looking for the feed.xml file, and you can see it pulls up the server.ts no problem. So hunting for files largely has not been a problem. So the type that we need is a request handler from SvelteKit. Okay, import type request handler, export const get is equal to async function get. The type of request handler has the set headers in here fully typed. Gorgeous, lovely. Besides some object is possibly null issues, we should be good to go here. Check it out. Check it out. XML. This is our sitemap. Live and dynamic with all of the wonderful tutorials that we have on the entire site. You could imagine this is a big old sitemap. And it is. It's a big old site. All right, sponsorship. We have a sponsor page. I bet this page will work no problems. I can't imagine there being any issues here. Sponsor us. Here's the sponsor page. It's not pretty, but it's not done. It looks fine. Student accounts. Student accounts. I think these things, this should be done as well. It's just a form. We're asking a massive email box here. Is this really how? Okay, good. I was gonna say, is this really the right size of this email box? However, I am going to give this a massive H1 here. Remove this data test ID. There we go. Perfect. Just make everything bigger. That's the solution. All right. You only need Svelte for VS Code. Yeah, that's true. You only need Svelte for VS Code. Don't install ESLint or Prettier. Yeah, I have ESLint and Prettier installed, but I don't think they collide. I don't think they collide, really, but that's probably not a bad idea. Or maybe you can disable it from the workflow or the workspace itself. Okay, we've now been streaming for 2 hours, y'all. And how are these migrations doing? Are we really only at 22? I feel like we were just at 22. Okay. Oh, got to stretch it out here. There we go. Cool. Okay. Cool. Well, we got stuff to do here. Let's do it. Page, student accounts, teams. I don't want to touch the team stuff just yet. I'm sorry. That stuff needs a bigger refactor than just this. So I apologize. I'll do it off screen. Terms and conditions. That page is going to work. I don't even need to check it. /tutorials. Now, this should be interesting because you'll get a little sneak peek at the new video player. But I believe all of this stuff is working. If I click on a tutorial, here's the course page, which is not done, obviously. And then I click on a page and the player works. This is all zoomed in, so it looks funky. This is going to be the new player page if you're interested in seeing some of that stuff. It's really pretty nice. It uses Mux Player as a web component, which is pretty neat in its own right. So I could maybe do a video on how to use Mux Player, but Mux Player has been fantastic so far for us, and it's lovely. So these pages all work. I don't have to touch any of this stuff. /tutorials. Verify.json. Man, I don't. Is this verify.json secret CAPTCHA? Oh, this is for our CAPTCHA. I'll worry about that later. Work with us if you want to be a content creator for Level Up Tutorials. We have a Work With Us page. And the Work With Us page, I don't think it's linked anywhere. I think we just link with that in our videos. But if you're interested in becoming an author right now, you can hit me up with a DM on Twitter or something, and I'll be there. So I think that's the end of the line in terms of things that I would like to show, except for, I take that back. I'll show you some of the admin stuff. But I'm going to move this down here to avoid exposing any sensitive information. And then maybe we'll get into some of the actual admin stuff that's not on the side of sales, but more or less on the side of the content management side of things. We have a lot of admin tools. I like building admin tools. I'm going to say that. I like building admin tools. You can tell I like building admin tools because I built this whole admin menu. So I'm in the /admin, and this site's going to be broken, /admin /content /tutorials. So that's a number of layers deep of what should be broken routes. And I would assume that many of my migration stuff needed to do is going to be inside of here. Do you know how Markdown files its route using MD-Specs works after the migration? No, I don't. In fact, we don't author anything in Markdown like that. On the site, Level Up Tutorials as a site functions way more like a CMS than it does like a Jamstack style or like using Markdown files for content. All of our content is stored in the database. So I don't have a ton of personal experience with that. But no, yeah, I was going to say, for one of our sites, one of our sub mono repos subsites of this, we do use markdown files for the content, but I'm parsing them myself. I'm not using MD-Specs. I'm just running a parser on it. So in that case, what I did is I imported them as raw, and then I ran them through MD-Specs, or I ran them through Markdown. So unfortunately, I have not used MD-Specs that much personally in my major work here, but it is a nice project. I'm sure Penguin will have some sort of how-to on that. Do you think Microsoft will add Svelte as a template like Angular and React? Can you clarify what you mean by that? Microsoft will add Svelte as a template? Are you talking about VS Code, or what are you referring to? Because I don't even know what that means as a template. I'm interested in knowing though. Okay, so what I want to do right now is we're migrating the admin section of the site. Coley asks, how's the refactor? It's going well. We've done over 40 different migration pages so far, and we're somewhat cruising. I am getting a bit fatigued of talking through this. I'm being on camera doing this for 2 hours now, but we have the admin section of the site. So the entire UI of the front-facing part of the site is done. You can celebrate that. As a template project, you know what? I don't know anything about template projects in Visual Studio. I don't know anything about that. I've never used a template project. I always just use the CLI to generate the project and then open it up in VS Code after it's created. But I can see that being useful. Maybe they will. Who knows? Okay, so we're in the admin section of the site. And first things first, obey your thirst. We got to hit the layout and the page here. We have the page and the layout, which I'm sure are very broken. Let's do the layout first. We can check out the admin section of the layout. Let's close all this stuff. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's do the layout page first. We can use our snippet LLT layout load template or type. For those of you who are new to this stream, these are new generated types inside of SvelteKit, where we can say import type layout load from $types. And that's going to make sure that we get the correct types for our load functions, for our props, or anything like that. And then likewise, if I want to type this whole function, I can say export const load is the type of layout load. It's equal to a function. Like this, instead of using the function syntax, and that way I can get the return type and everything returned. Now, just like what we were doing on the about or the my account page, I'm returning the URL path name as data from the layout, and I'm doing that specifically with the intent purpose of having animations here, and just using the path for the animation. In fact, let me reload that. Just using the path for the animation straight up isn't, it's like it's the, if you're using it from the store, I found it to be delayed in a really weird way. So just a thing there. So that's why I'm using this as a prop here, or now it's not, I don't even know if these are called props anymore. It's just data or a data prop. So we want to import a generated type, and this is called page data from $types, and just like that. Now this is funny. Oh, import type. Man, I'm doing this. About an hour ago, I said the next time we did one of these, I would make it into a snippet, and it's been about an hour. So now we can finally do snippet, make snippet. So we had page load type PDT. Shout out again, once more to Antonio, who came up with PLT for our page load type, and it makes way more sense to do PLT. Now, this is curious. Anybody notice why this is curious here? It's curious because PLT won't let me do a / to escape the $ in here. And same LLT. So I had to do this weird double $ thing, where with PDT, being that it's inside of a Svelte file, I don't know if that makes a difference, but PDT is allowing me to escape the $ here. Why? I couldn't possibly tell you why. PDT. Oh, prototypes node. Okay, VS Copilot's getting in the way. PDT. This is super weird. So it cannot find PDT as a snippet, and I'm wondering if it's because it's detecting the language as, it's saying it's Svelte, set language mode, and down here it's Svelte, but up here is it TypeScript? That's weird. What if I moved the PDT? Oh, this is also very weird. Why would PDT not work? Okay. So I'm going to get in here and do some manual work. Let's get in here and do some manual work. PDT, I'm going to cut this out of here from these Svelte snippets, and then I'm going to put it into the TypeScript snippets and see if that fixes it. PDT. Let's see. I got to have my snippets. Okay, let's see if it finds PDT. PDT! Okay. I see what's going on here. For some reason, Easy Snippet thinks this whole page is a Svelte thing instead of TypeScript, and then VS Code thinks this is TypeScript and not Svelte, so that's what's up. Dale says, I just installed SvelteKit and noticed that prettyrc.js is set to use tabs instead of spaces. Is this the preferred way in Svelteland? Yes, Dale, let me tell you, it's the preferred way to do it. Let me tell you why. It's an accessibility thing. Reason being is that a space always takes up the same amount of room, a space, and you can set the spaces to 4, 2, or 6 or whatever, but that's going to have to require a refactor, right? It's removing those spaces. But with tabs, you can set the tab width independently. You can say the tab width is this or that or whatever, meaning that people who have a hard time noticing greater or different tab widths, they can change their tabs as a VS Code setting rather than a refactor setting. So that is why I saw Rich Harris was tweeting about it. That's why we use tabs instead of spaces. I've been on the tab train for a long time now, so for me it's not a big switch. But in case you're wondering why, that's why. Okay, so our route should be complete with the exception of this path is not going to have the actual path because one thing that we've been doing throughout the course of this refactor is that we're changing how data is being loaded. And when you return data from here, it's no longer inside of props and it no longer makes us a prop. But what it does is we have a page data. So export let that becomes export let data of the type of page data. Now, the reason why this is interesting or exciting at all is because page data will now include the actual, there it is, the actual page data type. Now, I don't know why it's saying that it's null for me. It might be the generated thing, but it will have the type in here. So that's good. Then what we do is destructure out the prop that we want from data like this. And it says property path does not exist on type of null. I'm guessing I just need to run Svelte sync before that works correctly. I've done this like 800 times. Oh, we're in a layout. Oh, come on. Layout data, that's why. Layout data. And unfortunately, this means that like all of my snippet stuff that I just did, I have to duplicate that. But instead of that, let's go, where's easy snippet? Editor, snippet. Let's get, how do I get to my snippets? Easy snippet, open snippet, view, edit TypeScript snippets. We have PDT, page data type, and we'll have PLT. So we have, page, LLT. No. We have page load type, page data type. LDT. That's what it needs to be. Layout data type. Layout data type. I just want to love you. PLT. All right. This is a layout data type, LDT. Bingo. Got it. Got him. Okay, beauty. Okay, so this is the admin layout. Let's go to the admin page. We have lots of chaos in this one. Lots of chaos. Thank you, Puppy, for loving the podcast and the work. I appreciate it. I've now been streaming for 2 hours and 14 minutes. Wild. Thank you for anyone who's popped in at any given point here. We're watching this later. Cool. Let's go ahead and let's talk about what the strategy is. The strategy has almost always been, here's what I'm finding the strategy to be. It's to start with page.ts. However, you're going to notice this one's kind of funky here. It's funky because, we're not even going to look at this page. So I might ignore this one for now, but it's funky because all of the data is being loaded client side. I could not tell you why I even have a script context module in here in the first place. I literally could not tell. I have no idea, no clue. So I'm going to just remove the context module here. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to remove page.ts entirely because this data is all being loaded client side and none of it's being loaded server side. Boom. Okay. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here of what I'm actually trying to do, which is the content pages of the admin section. So we have a page.svelte and a layout.svelte for the admin section. Page.svelte, there is no data, and then layout.svelte has nothing in here either. Beautiful. I think we're going into, let's see, admin content tutorials. Admin content tutorials. Admin content tutorials. And with this new structure, obviously, the routing is related directly to our folders. Boom, 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 boom. I can't believe how it simultaneously feels like I'm cruising on this and it's taking forever. So there's that. All right. Deep breath. Okay, sigh, deep breath. Let's do it. PLT. How do you manage API caching in SvelteKit? Is asked. We do it via what's called jQuery is our library. I wrote this library myself. And the way that we do it is, which I'll kind of show you here a little bit. I can show you while I do this one. The way we do it is we store all of our queries into subscriptions. And this is actually really, really sweet. Not many people do it this way. In fact, if you see other GraphQL libraries doing it like this, they took it from us, which is fine. You can take it from us. I don't care. But this is the way that we've been doing it. Everybody tried to use GraphQL the same way you did in React or the same way you did in Apollo or whatever. People were just trying to apply the Apollo, the Urkel way, whatever. And we said that'd be way cooler if we did a GraphQL code gen that code generated everything into a single store of the same name of the query. And what we do is we load all of those queries up server side. We write them to a string. This is all manual, by the way. We write them to a string server side as a variable. We then load that variable up, repopulate all of our stores, kind of the same way that Apollo does it, but a little bit different considering we have a bunch of mini stores. And then we, if those stores exist, we only refetch if the data is being told to get new data. We tell it to get fresh data. So just by default, it's always going to grab the cached data. And we also use server-side caching on the requests as well. So it's not just GraphQL caching, it's HTTPS caching using headers as well. And on top of that, let's talk caching for a second. We have our own GraphQL server through Mercurius, which is a GraphQL library based on Fastify, and we use caching at that layer too within Redis. So we cache those queries, which is fun. A lot of caching, right? we do a lot of heavy queries. We have a lot of data, and since we use MongoDB instead of a relational database like a normal person, we have to make sure that those queries are performant and we're not overloading it. And we have GraphQL, so we have to make sure we're not doing a whole n+1 error stuff. So a lot involved in caching for us. But it's how we were able to get the site loading really fast. So especially heavy routes where we have a lot of data. Okay, so in this, we're going to do our page load data. First, we're going to remove these subscriptions, and we're just going to keep the get function because the get function is our API call. We're going to do PLT, PLT, page load, PLT. I just want to love you, PLT, running on thing. Pretty load function, page load. All right, I'm going to stop. Okay, page load, const load is equal to, oh my god, I am just butchering this. This is what is called as fatigue here, streaming fatigue. Okay. We can remove this return. We don't need to return anything. So the page function now, page load. What somebody asked, what's the benefit of using MongoDB? None. We used MongoDB because that's what I know. I know. Well, actually, that's not why we use MongoDB. We use MongoDB because the site was originally built in Meteor, and I had to port our auth system. I had to write our auth system from scratch to work with Meteor's former auth system. So the whole site was in Meteor, which was only MongoDB. And so instead of saying like, oh, we're going to replace the whole API and the front end and the database, I said, you know what? I'm going to keep the database, keep it as it is. I'm not going to touch that, at least for now. You know, maybe in the future we will move to a relational database. There are benefits to using MongoDB. One of those benefits is that I know how to write it really well, but that's pretty much it. So Jesus asks, what does it mean layout plus layout Svelte? So the plus operator is a whole new convention with this Svelte kit thing. They chose the plus for a number of reasons, of which I've gotten into in some of my other streams, where the plus character is kind of a low pixel value character, so it's not going to get in the way as much as some other characters. It also doesn't have a lot of other file name assigned meaning, like an underscore is often used for private files. So they, in the past, had the underscore as being the special decorator for file types, but that doesn't make a ton of sense if you take into those previous connotations for the underscore. And so they said, okay, we need a new file decorator type, something that doesn't have any pre-required meaning. So they went with plus, and honestly, it's nice. As somebody who has a plus in their logo, it's nice. Okay. I'm kind of partial to the plus. Look at this. It's our admin page. This is our admin section of the site. It utilizes some neat things. I may not have ever shown this off before, but it utilizes we talk about level up tutorials and the fact that we are making a lot of our packages or a lot of our own open source packages. We do something for all sorts of things. So I got a text message from my wife. We write our own packages for a lot of things, and this is one of those packages. Check this out. This is our own table plugin. Look at that. Hey, it's fast. This is our own table plugin. I wrote this thing. I don't want to use some of these massive table plugins to do the job of a tiny little table plugin. And look at this. Look at this footprint. This is the tiny little footprint. Sure, there's a TypeScript error, but it's so easy. Look at that. You just say, for the header, I want an ID, title, visibility, series, and length. And then for the data, I just craft my data in a derived store ahead of time. And then that data, the shape of that data chooses how this data is shown here in the order. And there's built-in filtering. Gotta love it. So this admin tutorial route is donezo. Let's go ahead and dive into an individual tutorial page. Now, this is fun. You'll get to see how we actually publish tutorials on the site. These are individual. This is an individual video. I don't want to dive too much into the video uploader because I'm just hoping that all works because that stuff's kind of complex. But you're getting a big back-end tour of the site here. And who doesn't love a back-end tour, right? So we have we have these individual tutorials. Let's do one that already exists. Beginner Ruby on Rails. This is a course that Luan did for us, and it's awesome. It's really super good. And here we have another migration script. And this is the ID here. So I swear I'm going to lose my voice after this. Okay. Actually, instead of let's getting into the page, let's get into the page.ts first. So as you can see, more issues where the migration script grabs some of my Svelte imports and move them into here, along with like our toast state and stuff like that that we're not actually using, derived Svelte stores. And I should say it's entirely my fault for doing those imports. I consolidated all of the imports inside of the script context module for reasons I just felt like it was prettier to look at, which not great reason. But I do things like that. So here's a page load type PLT, page load type export const load colon page load type is equal to async function. Bingo. We don't need the return. We're all good here. Make sure. Sorry. My wife's sending me some somewhat urgent messages. Just make sure she's all right. She is fine. That's all good. Shout out to my wife, Courtney, my lovely wife, Courtney. She's a doctor, Dr. T, not an actual doctor. I mean, she's a doctor of psychology, not a medical doctor. So she is an actual doctor, not a medical doctor. She's very smart. You should seek out. We have a couple of videos of her and I talking on the channel about mental health stuff. And we're actually going to have her on Syntax again really soon. So shout out to Courtney, and hopefully she comes on to Syntax soon. Okay, I already have multiple script tags on here. Let's move this stuff downwards. There we go. Form input from autoform. Oh, this is fun. This is an old out-of-date type. There we go. Okay, I'm not returning any data from this, so I don't really have to do too much for this one, and I think it should just work now. Let's see. There we go. There's Luan. This is a form. This, like I said, this is the new version of the site, so none of the CSS is good in this site yet, right? As Trout Soda says that he also married up, and that is exactly. That's a perfect explanation. Yes, marrying up. I married up. My wife is super smart, super awesome. It's always good. Okay, where to next? All right, so the form loads. Now let's make sure it loads with empty data, which I'm sure it will. So we have a create a new tutorial button. It automatically creates one. Bingo. We have an uploader that uploads the videos and stuff, but ooh, the uploader looks like it might be broken for other reasons, and I'll have to touch that at some other point. Okay, so this is our tutorials route. We have now completed the tutorials admin route. Now let's go into the next content route, which is going to be courses, which is also going to be broken for very similar reasons. And courses, just like tutorials, is going to be like the exact same in terms of setup here, where what we have is we have the same kind of form. I would say, I would go as far as to say it's like really the exact same page with just like a data swap. So I can delete some of this stuff, all courses. We just have get all courses, and we can page load type export const load colon page load. It's so funny. I was so energetic in the first 2 hours of the stream, and now around hour 2:30, I'm slowly getting slower and slower. My voice is getting more and more vocal fry. Sorry, y'all, if vocal fry makes you upset. All right, let's get rid of this stuff. I have duplicate script tags on this one as well. Always do, it seems like. We can import our course type. We can import our methods, our functions here. We can remove that script context. Does get all courses ever get run on this page? I don't think it does. Get all courses. Oh, it does. I have a fetch button. Why is that? For removing a course. If I delete a course, I rerun the query and then re-update the cache. Okay, let's see if this works. No. So what doesn't work about this? Let's close this page. This should work. And this should work. Courses. Why doesn't this work? Check to remove that code was removed safely. I swear we removed code safely unless the route that I'm on is not the... Oh, big blow to my ego there. I goofed up. When I said that I changed the word series to courses, I must have changed it in some places and not other places, because here it's loading up the series route and not the courses route, but the navigation item said courses. I'm in for some trouble here with the naming conventions, and I'm going to have to do some serious work. When you change the one word to another word to another word, it goes playlist to a series to now courses, and then you have courses to paths. Man, does that cause some trouble. How do you do deeply nested relation in MongoDB? How do we do it as if it was a relational database, and then we use MongoDB aggregation to do it. MongoDB does have the ability to do relational data. It's just probably not as performant as a true relational database. And like also document databases or databases like MongoDB, a lot of the content around teaching how to use them is just like embedding documents and updating all those embedded documents. If we're being entirely honest, I never bought too hard into the embedding documents thing. So for me, it was fairly trivial. I just did things as if it was a relational DB and then used aggregation. There's another way you could do it via GraphQL, where you just do a GraphQL. In fact, we do this as well, where you just do a GraphQL and then do a data loader and then like manually merge that data. You do two separate fetches. I fetch the user, the author, whatever, and then just merge it all together by hand. We do that sometimes on Level Up and then cache it. I can't necessarily recommend that. I'd probably recommend just using a relational database. This is a page, so we need a page load type. I think page load type is officially the most done thing that we've done in this refactor. I think it is not even close. Page load type. Here we go. And all I'm largely doing is I don't even really have to do that. I'm just adding a type to our load functions, and then I'm calling our API calls here. You can see this one has an update true. That means to do that. Okay. Let's get rid of this stuff. And then we can get rid of our git scripts and just bring our, although we might need a git in here. No, I don't think we do. Beauty. Oh, we did. There's big old red underlined. There we go. Git admin series listing. Git admin series listing. There it is. Yeah, a lot of the database decisions that we have made on this site are largely made out of the situation in which we were on Meteor before, and Meteor required a certain way, and now we're not. Now, this is something I want to talk about here real quick, is that I have some buttons, and you can see these are just buttons like this. New series, new order. These are now capital B buttons, and instead of having a class of small, it's a size of small. And I've talked about this already once in this nearly 3-hour stream, but we do that to get TypeScript support. What I want is deeply constrained classes. I want like atomic style classes where you can just toss classes on them and stuff, but I want it to be deeply constrained. Like I don't want to be able to give button every single opportunity to do anything. I want button to only have several options, one of which size small, right? Or size of normal. Normal size or size small. That's it. Now we have our actual buttons in here, and they look a little bit nicer. And we have our courses. This is how you make courses on Level Up Tutorials. We have our big old table of all the courses, their pricing, their length, their title, their author, their SKU, any of that stuff, the logo that's being used for them. And whenever you create a new course or ever you make a new course, it automatically creates one in the database. And so that at this point, it should show me the form, which is on the ID page. The ID page uses the parameter of ID to load up any given particular course, saves it into our cache state, and then loads it up on the page. I feel like I need some more coffee. Need like an OBS. I need like a be back soon thing. My coffee has been done for a little while now. Oh. I got some new headphones yesterday. Check these things out. They are Neumann. I'm gonna sell my current headphones that I've been using. You may have seen me wearing them occasionally. Test. Get some audio monitoring going. Maybe this will wake me up. Get some audio monitoring in these headphones. Get a monitor in these cans. All right. Yeah. My previous headphones, they're really great. These Audies, and these are really awesome headphones. I'm going to try to sell these because they're wonderful headphones, and I like them very much. There's some Pro Studio cans, but the problem with these Audies is that they're open back, and I could not tell you what possessed me to buy open back headphones as someone that spends most of their time talking into a microphone with their cans right here. I'm throwing my cans into the microphone, and I got major audio bleed. So our podcast editor was like, dude, Scott, like you're getting like, are you listening to speakers while you're recording these podcasts? And like, that's on me. That's my fault. Whoopsie doopsies. Okay, so we now have a migration task. This is the course form. We saw our tutorial form a moment ago, and this is the course form. If you've seen one problem in this live stream, you've probably seen most of them because we kind of have the same problem over and over again. It's that I chose to co-locate my imports inside of the context module, which is just a bad idea. So it's bringing in all of my imports. I will take the blame for that one. It's not the migration script fault that I made a bad choice there. So we're going to do PLT, and we're going to do export const load page long article true. Remove the return. We don't need the return. We never need the return. And this is fun too. You might have seen this occasionally, awaiting a promise all. So this is fun. We have these are two separate API calls, and I could batch these in GraphQL. I should probably figure out a way to do that in jQuery to just straight up batch them, which would be fine. But these are kind of low stakes queries anyways. And what we're doing is these both return a promise. And instead of running these in sequence by doing await one and await the next one, what we've chosen to do is do promise.all, pass them into an array, and then await that promise. Okay? Again, it's a small thing, but again, it avoids loading one in sequence and then the other in sequence, allowing them to go off and do those requests simultaneously. Okay, so this page is done, except for the page itself. Major bummer. Lots of issues here. We do have a second script tag, so that means that I can just grab all of these imports, move them into the script tag instead of changing the script tag type. Then we're going to go ahead and change the imports in here. And once again, we're using our own level up tutorials table, and we're using AutoForm. Oh man, AutoForm is like one of my favorite plugins. However, for AutoForm, again, let's check out AutoForm because I don't think anybody knows about AutoForm really. We have AutoForm. This is our entire form right here, where we have AutoForm. We have the action, which is going to be saved to the database. We have the input, which is going to be the literal data the input is going to be structure of the form. The model is going to be the literal data. I wonder if the naming for that should be swapped. I mean, that's like a recipe for a disaster refactor, but like maybe the input should be the data and the model should be the structure of the data. That seems like, why in the world would I have done that the opposite? Guess, whatever. Either way, we're able to bind the form data directly to a data variable. And that means we're able to then use that data elsewhere, like have our course cards and stuff like that be populated live with the data that we're using, which makes things really fun when you're working in a form and it's interactive. So AutoForm is a plugin that I wrote based on a Meteor plugin called AutoForm. I like it very much. And let's see. And our form is working. Yes, this is our course creator. So if we want to create a new course, we could say, hello, this is a new course. Who's this course for? For me. And this is a markdown text area. If we want a markdown text, you get a nice little preview of the markdown as you type it. So this is our markdown areas. We have our background image creator. We have our course card here. The CSS thing is... Oh, so did I really say thank you for anyone? Oh no, Magnus. Oh no. You know what? I was thinking about that today. If Wes knew that was wrong, why did he wait so long? Why did he wait for someone else to tell me? That guy. For those of you who don't know what Magnus is talking about, I have been saying something very oddly on syntax for essentially the entire time we've been doing syntax. I've been saying thank you for this sponsor, for sponsoring, or to sponsor. I don't know what I've been saying. But apparently, it sounds weird to everyone, but in my brain, it sounded correctly. Hey, I want to show you guys something here. Paths, which is, this is actually incredible. Paths, which I would have thought paths is, oh, I already fixed this one. That's why it works. Okay, so the migration script didn't fix it. I fixed it already. Paths is loading up the courses route. Man, I'm getting hammered by this language change. Level up stuff, post quit. I'm hoping that I didn't use any like major profanity in any of this test data. That wouldn't exactly be out of character for me, but okay. Let's do PLT here. Page load type. Page load type. Export const load colon page load async function load. Let's do it. Let's get rid of all the stuff we don't need. There we go. Admin course. This is a what this is a path. Even though it says courses here and course, this is what we're now calling paths, and this is going to be the admin form for a path. Now, I cannot guarantee that this form will even work or look nice regardless of this migration, because this is a section of the site that is not done, as we're changing paths quite a bit, and it was honestly never working super well anyways, or as well as I would like it. We're also using AutoForm for this. There we go. Here's a course, and you can't really do anything with the course other than the logo and the status, so it's not like you can even use this thing. All right, let's do our blog post now, our admin section. Actually, how many more do we have? 14 left, y'all. We have gone down from 60 to 14, or 15 results and 14 pages, and I accidentally quit VS Code. Sigh. Okay. Okay. I closed my stuff out. We will do you later. All right, posts. We are now editing the posts admin section of the site. So if you are just joining us, have been joining us, I know we've been doing this a long time now, almost 3 hours. In fact, when it hits the 3 hour mark, I'm going to be toast here. I need to go take a break, have some lunch or something. Yeah, let's see what we have here. This is our page post type. We're kind of just doing the same thing over and over at this point. Just kind of monotonous. PLT, bring in page load type, export const load colon page load type is equal to a function. There we go. And largely, there we go. By the way, again, if you have any questions about Level Up as a platform, if you have any questions about SvelteKit, building our site on SvelteKit, Svelte itself in general, things that we're doing, maybe things that you're seeing that are weird or interesting, just shout them out. I'm happy to discuss any of that stuff. We made a lot of decisions for kind of interesting reasons, and especially because I can't necessarily say that like at the time that we built this site or I've been wrote a lot of this code, some of these patterns haven't been established. So I get to make up a lot of patterns and I get to make up a lot of stuff. And I don't want to, my brain works kind of oddly sometimes. So, sometimes I just come up with something and it seems normal to me and it might not be normal. So here is our blog post now working. Here are all of our blog posts. Perfect. And likewise, the add new post button. This is actually fun. So our buttons can be links or buttons, and we specify that just by having a to property. So I don't even have to make this a link. There we go. Now it's a link of a button. We could do size small on this the same way we do with our other buttons. There we go. I'll also maybe in a future stream or something, I'll show off our element system because the element system is really pretty great. Okay. There's this side of a div called actions with a class of actions, which clearly doesn't have any style associated with it. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to throw in a spacer div in here. Give us some little space. There we go. In page and layout, it should always be load function that you have to return. So we're not returning anything out of our load function or anything like that. But to export, if that's what you're talking about, it does have to be named load. It is looking for load, and that comes into play here because export const load. Notice how this isn't a default export. So SvelteKit specifically is looking for something named load here. So if you want to load your data in that way, it must be called load. Now, post is actually kind of interesting. Let me see. If I open up a post, so with courses and tutorials, when you create a new one, there isn't a new form. There is it creates it when you click the button and sends you to a form of a thing already existing. And I swear that's how I thought the post worked as well. And it does. So the posts do work that way. Or do they? Let's actually try. Add new post. Does this take me to a new page? Takes me to a new page. So I was wrong. Posts don't work the same way. So let's take care of the new post first. I think there's less there. And again, when I hit the 3-hour mark in about 15 minutes here, I'm going to tap out because we have now been streaming for 3 hours doing this migration, and I've got us so close down here to 14. We're basically there. So I think you'll probably get everything you want to get out of this, except for maybe questions you might have while we're going. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out ways to make this more fun. Streaming a 3-hour migration can only be so much fun here at this point in time. Let's go ahead and remove this stuff. What is today? Today is Wednesday. Wednesday. What happens on Wednesday? I don't know. I think I'm just doing this all week. I got to start recording my next course. In case you're wondering, we're doing a course on workspaces and monorepos and using workspaces and monorepos with PNPM and some of the neat features you get around there. Cool. So this is an interesting approach, the fact that I chose to do this just slightly differently in posts than I did in courses and content and stuff, where we have a new post form where we don't have such thing as a new course form. There's just a course form, an existing course. So I wonder why I did it that way. Who knows? Sometimes I often make decisions like that, and I should probably just write down why I made the decision at the time so that I don't forget. Someone on Twitter, Ben Patton, is referencing a Cobra drain zip it. It's a drain cleaner where it's like a rip cord that you put down your drain and rip it out to clean your drain. And he says it's satisfying and disgusting. And he could not be any more right. I don't know if any like Drano and stuff is all bad for your pipes. So these Cobra zip it things are simultaneously incredible and horrifying when you actually zip this thing out of there. Page load type. Okay. Export const load page load is equal to function. Okay. Get rid of this stuff. Cruising on it. Okay, so the page loader is done. Let's bring in these imports. I should show you guys our toast model, or our toast module at some point too. Maybe getting into some advanced state stuff. We do a lot of advanced state stuff on Level Up, where we have some pretty complex custom internal state things with custom functions and all that stuff. Giving me a lot of good content ideas. There we go. Blog posts are done. I'm noticing my select lists aren't getting the right color. That's fine. I'll fix that later. Giant pain in the butt. But we have our markdown field is working correctly, and that's all good. This should be scrollable. The markdown area, this should be scrollable, right? Maybe. It's a text area. Can you make a text area scrollable? Maybe. Maybe use to a content editable div. No. Because I can't imagine that this is in VS Code, since this is web tech, I can't imagine that this is a text area. So I bet they used a text area content editable. Okay. We are cruising here. Let's get into tags now. Honestly, I have no idea what the tags administrative pages look like. I honestly don't think these pages are being used much in reality. So let's remove all of these functions that we're not using from the migration script. PLT export const load page load equals load. Boom, 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 boom. Bingo, bango. Up and run it. There we go. Okay. And also, if you're wondering if I make these sounds when I code, I kind of do. It's really easy to make a bunch of really obnoxious sounds in your office when you're the only person in here. Yeah. There we go. And there we go. Click to remove a tag. I wonder if this actually works. Are you sure you want to remove? Yes. Okay. Seems like that worked. Let's remove Gatsby. Remove. It removed it from the it says it removed, and it's gone after a refresh, but the cache doesn't update. So this is a page I probably have to touch at some point here. Another old to-do. Rework tags admin. It's amazing the kind of things that you find when you go folder by folder. For instance, here's a folder potential series. I don't think we even use that. It's not even in our navigation. So the things that you find, I'm going to delete potential series, just straight up. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to probably want to dive in. Yeah, I'm going to delete that. There's nothing in here. There's nothing in here. It's a few comments. What? It's code base. When you have a code base for like 10 years, the kind of stuff you accumulate in it becomes unreal. Okay, what page is this? I believe this is comments. You know what? I'm going to use comment. I'm going to ignore comments. why we're going to pull comments from the site. I'm not super excited about pulling comments from the site, but it's so much work to monitor the comments that I think it's better to have one spot to get customer service, which would be, or like help on something would be like the Discord, where you're having concerns or questions, where like people leave a comment and then I don't respond for a long time, or our staff doesn't respond for a long time, and then they feel like they're being ignored. But if you come to the Discord, I would have an answer for you right away, right? So yeah, Discord might be it. Somebody's asking me about what I use for to-do highlighting. I use To-Do Tree. To-Do Tree is wonderful. It's super wonderful. To-Do Tree is really great because it not only highlights your to-do tree, it not only highlights them, it shows you to-do tree. Show to-do tree view. Why isn't that working? So the comment highlighting is not comments highlighter, or better comments is one that we have, which I do use for some things, but the to-do thing is coming from to-do tree. To-do tree, which is choosing not to show itself right now. Like, show yourself, please. Explore, show. When you don't have the sidebar tab on here, I don't know how you get that. Appearance. Panel. The panel or the activity bar? I think it's the activity bar. So here's to-do tree. The shortcut's not working. And what's cool, here's a TSX from the old React version of the site, which has remnants in our code base here. There's a to-do in the TSX file. So that's great. But here, it shows you all of your to-dos here listed, and you can see them all so that you can actually tackle them instead of just having them show up later on down the line. All right, goodbye, activity bar. Got to have room for actual activities. So I'm not going to do comments because I'm going to remove the comment editing stuff from the site overall. So that's the content part of it. What about cache? Does the cache page work? Cache page works. Okay, let's get rid of that. Sales, marketing, customer service, all of those things are not things I would particularly like to show on camera, because customer data, even though this is like sandbox stuff, you never know what I have imported here or there. So yes, I think I'm going to call it at 2 hours and 56 minutes. I have gotten us down from 60 some migrations to a total of 11 results and 10 files. And just about all of them are not ones that I either want to show on camera, or things like the team stuff, which I want to rework anyways, so it's not worth me doing that on camera. And then some of the admin customer service stuff. But I think what we can say is, I think we can say that this migration so far has been a success. We were able to get the site really working in a way where it feels very much like it was before the migration, but also it's a success because I think everything that I've done so far in this migration has made the code base better. Whether that's the removal of stuff, whether that is really solidifying. You're doing things in less different types of ways, doing the same types of things in less different types of ways. Moving all of that data out of context module makes it so nice. So if you have any questions for me, I am officially the migration master here. And I think I'm really good at doing this migration stuff. If you have any questions or whatever, you can check out this migration GitHub link that I'm posting in the chat right now. This thing answers pretty much any questions you'd want to have. This is also linked all over the place. Anytime you run into one of those migration, like this is safely removed, check this migration thing out. So that's going to be it for me. I'm going to go stop talking for the rest of the day here, and I'm going to go have another cold brew, because that's how I do. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you watched even 10, 15 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, I appreciate you. I think it's a lot of fun that you chose to hang out with me. I liked hanging out with all of y'all. I'll do more live streams in the future, especially on stuff like this where it's fun to just crush through some code and do some stuff I had to do anyways. Not only that, but let's face it, man. I just got 3 hours in of like coding without being distracted on stuff that I had to do. This might have taken me all day without this live stream, but I was able to consolidate my energy into the code. So thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate y'all, and I will catch you on the